Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome back to the show, folks. Today we are doing a special, very early in the morning emergency broadcast. President Trump is going to be speaking in New York City to the United Nations here in about 30 minutes, and we have a lot to talk about before that happens. Now, I am up early out of bed. It is 6:20 in the morning over where I am, so I need to get my brain going here. But everybody, thank you all very much for tuning in. Everybody, welcome. Right now, we are live on Rumble Matt Morris TV, YouTube Matt Morris TV. And today, I think today is, folks, is probably going to be another 4 or 5 hour kind of all day news coverage broadcast, because President Trump is going to be speaking at the United Nations in about 30 minutes. He's going to deliver a speech, and then he's going to be having some both bilateral, one-on-one, and also multilateral, multiple countries involved, these meetings, and I believe that those meetings are going to be live broadcast. We will be able to listen along to those meetings. Trump is talking to different countries around the world, working out deals, talking about how to save the world, pretty much. And so we're going to be tuning in. I believe, like I said, I know for a fact Trump's speech is going to be live broadcast in 30 minutes. We are going to listen to that, and I'll tell you what, that's going to be a big one. I'll tell you why here in a minute. And then the meetings, I believe, afterwards, we can tune into also. So everybody, thank you all very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about before President Trump takes the stage, and I want to start breaking stuff down with you guys right now. President Trump is going to speak to the United Nations leaders about the failures of globalism this morning and the return of American strength. What did President Trump say on the campaign trail in 2016? 9 years ago, he said, Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. And curious for the Department of Homeland Security, I believe, tweeted that out. They said, the official page said, Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. So this is something that is in the mind of the Trump administration, and that's what he's going to be talking about. Now, I'll tell you, I expect Trump today in 30 minutes, 27 minutes, to go a little bit scorched earth on some of the United Nations members. Trump and his admin, they have been very critical of the United Nations. They're not doing enough. They're not whatever. Okay, so I want to go through some of what the Trump admin has been saying as we lead into this. Carolyn Leavitt, White House press secretary, 2 hours ago posted this. President Trump will highlight the, quote, return of American strength during his speech at the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday morning, while delivering blunt and tough talk about the failures of globalism. The sound keeps going out. Folks, are we good? I'm just going to keep on going. Hopefully it works itself out. This is from Fox News. First on Fox, President Trump's speech at the United Nations General Assembly will target the failures of globalism and highlight the return of American strength. Trump will also spotlight his role in peace negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Thailand, and Cambodia, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The sound is fine. I figure sometimes YouTube has hiccups like this. I'm just going to keep on going, and it's going to sort itself out. Now, folks, I want to remind you all about another time that President Trump spoke at the United Nations, folks. This was in 2018. What is that? 7 years ago? 8 years ago? Folks, take a look at this. This is what President Trump had to say to the Germans about their reliance on Russian energy. Take a look at this clip. This is in 2018.
Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course. Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers.
Look at him. Look at them. They are all, this is the German delegation. They are all laughing at him. The Germans, they're saying, huh? What is this guy talking about? They are laughing at him. Well, as it would seem, Trump was correct. Trump was totally right.
It has been the formal policy of our country since President Monroe.
And as it would turn out, the Germans, their reliance on Russian energy, it ended up becoming a problem. It was a problem. By the way, folks, for those of you that keep on mentioning the sound, right now I am live on Rumble and YouTube. The audio is fine on Rumble. I checked. The audio, I guess, is cutting in and out on YouTube. I don't know what to tell you. It's too bad. This is a YouTube problem. I can't do anything to fix this. This is a YouTube problem because I know it's fine on Rumble. So maybe try to reload the broadcast. I got nothing for you guys. This seems to be a YouTube issue. I know that it's not on my end because Rumble is just fine. Okay? Turn up the audio, turn down the audio, reload the broadcast. I'm not exactly sure, but there's nothing I can do. So I appreciate the feedback, but there's nothing I can do for you guys. It's fine. Okay. Now, I'm just going to move on. I'm just going to forget about it. If you have an issue, reload. I'm not sure. I can't help you with that. I apologize, but I'm going to continue on with the show here. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has sort of been making the rounds. He's been all over the media for the last hour or so. He's been in and out of Fox News, giving his thoughts on what President Trump is going to be talking about at the United Nations today. What are we even talking about here? Secretary Marco Rubio says the president is going to call out the feckless United Nations. You don't want to be called feckless. Take a look.
So I think
Turn up the audio here.
So I think what the president's going to do is challenge the UN to find its meaning and its purpose and its utility as an organization, because it doesn't seem to be doing the job, and it's pretty good at spending a lot of money. I think you can anticipate the president will point to his own history with the UN, going back to his time here as a developer, where he actually offered to fix the UN building, and instead they chose to go in another direction, wasted a bunch of money, and really didn't achieve on the building's perspective what needed to happen. And I think it's emblematic of how feckless the UN has become as an organization. It's just a place where once a year a bunch of people meet and give speeches and write out a bunch of letters and statements, but not a lot of good, important action is happening. So again, the UN has a lot of potential, but it's not living up to it right now.
Now, this is something that must be acknowledged. I'm sure that we are going to hear about this today. The Trump administration and the United Nations have been at odds over a couple different issues. What is the chief issue? What is the number one issue, the primary issue that the Trump administration and the United Nations have kind of disagreed on or butted heads a little bit over the last 8-9 months since Trump stepped back into the White House? It is the Israel situation. It is the Palestine situation. It is whether or not Israel is committing a genocide. It is whether or not Palestine should become its own independent nation or its own independent state. It's how to bring about peace in the Levant. It's how to get the hostages back. So it is the whole Israel-Palestine situation that has really been the big point of tension between the Trump admin and the United Nations. I am sure that at some point that is going to come up today. I'm sure they're going to talk about that at some point today. We got to see. Real quick, I want to go over the schedule with you guys, what we can kind of expect today. Trump has an absolutely jam-packed day at the United Nations, and we'll be getting back to the White House close to midnight. It's going to be a long day. Now, at 9:50 a.m., these times here are Eastern time. I'm Western time. Okay, so at 9:50 a.m. Eastern time, which is 21 minutes from now to be exact, Trump is going to give his speech in front of the United Nations General Assembly. This is really the big, massive event of the day. Shortly after that, Trump's speech, it might be 30 minutes or 40 minutes, could be an hour long. We got to see. It could be a longer one. Now, after that, at 11:10 a.m. Eastern time, Trump is going to be attending a bilateral meeting with which, by the way, bilateral means two, United States and one other country. I'm not sure which other country, but Trump will have and then he'll have another bilateral meeting at 1 p.m. Eastern. These two bilateral meetings, I believe, are going to be publicly broadcast. I believe that we can actually watch those. If we can, we will be here. We will watch those. And then at 2:30 p.m., he has a multilateral meeting with multiple countries, the members of which I'm not exactly sure. But if we pull up, we can check Trump's daily schedule here. The White House releases a schedule for Trump every day, actually. I check this website every day. This website might as well be my homepage at this point. So you can see President delivers his remarks to the UN General Assembly at 9:50. You got the press pool, bilateral meeting, press pool, another bilateral meeting, press pool, and then closed. No press for the multilateral meeting, no press, and then they fly back to the White House. So like I said, this is why I think that these two bilateral meetings are going to be live broadcast for us, I believe. But I guess you can't know anything as a certainty these days. Now, check this out. President Trump today is going to, oh, you know what? It's making sense now. President Trump today is going to be meeting with Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Jordan at the United Nations. It's a packed schedule. He's working hard today. So you know what I would bet? I would bet that this multilateral meeting, that is not going to be live broadcast for us, meaning we are not invited. I would suppose that this multilateral meeting is actually with some of these Middle Eastern nations, and that President Trump is going to try to secure some more foreign investment into the United States. And maybe this is a sensitive topic. Maybe with these guys, he's going to be talking about, hey, what are we going to do about this Israel-Palestine situation? Okay, we don't want the media. No media allowed. That might be the case here. Now, take a look at some super chats real quick. We have Staten, who says, buckle up, man. It's going to be a long day and exciting week. You know what? I got to tell you, I could go for a boring week right about now. We've had, maybe exciting is not the right word for the last 2 weeks. Just like terrible, dreadful, sad, depressing. I'm ready for a boring week where nothing happens. Does anybody else? I want to have like a 7-day period where nothing happens. We need a little break here. But today we're doing the United Nations. Today it's the United Nations. So today, you're right, today is a big day, and I appreciate that super chat. Thank you very much. We have a super chat over here on Rumble. This is from a guy named Gore. Thank you very much. And he says, we keep winning. I hope so. I hope we do. I hope we do.
Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, UAE, and Jordan. As our viewers just heard, Secretary of State Marco Rubio joining the show a few minutes ago to say Trump plans to be very tough on the United Nations today, especially when it comes to immigration, an organization, the UN, that Rubio called feckless.
You guys know the Trump administration, J.D. Vance, really, but the entire administration has taken a firm stance. They're saying, hey, Europe specifically, the UN is much bigger than just Europe, but hey, we're talking about Europe, guys. You got to stop taking so many immigrants. We have an immigration problem over here in the United States. They have perhaps an even bigger problem in Europe. Has anyone here by chance been to Europe recently? Specifically Western Europe? Or maybe some of you even live in Europe, specifically Western Europe. It's getting a little bit nuts with all these immigrants in Europe. And a lot of them are, our immigration problem here in the U.S., yeah, it's not good. We're not happy about it. We got to shut it down. They're coming from Latin America. At a minimum, a lot of these people are like Christian. A lot of them are Catholic. There's like some amount of cultural compatibility at a minimum. Not that we want to have an open border. These people have to go home. That said, there is at least some tiny ounce of cultural compatibility going on here. If you look at what's going on in Europe, you are having just people that they are not fitting in, to say the least. Do you think our immigrants, our illegal aliens coming in the country don't fit in? You haven't seen anything. Go take a look at Europe. Seriously, go to Paris. Go to Paris. Go to London. Go to Berlin. It's not looking so good. Okay, you want to talk about cultural incompatibility or cultural compatibility. Little bit culturally incompatible, to say the least. They're taking over there. And so President Trump, J.D. Vance has talked about this a lot. Listen, Europe, you got to solve the problem here. Europe, listen, if you guys do not solve this problem, yeah, go to Rome. Good grief, go to Rome. Italy has it bad. You guys got to solve the problem. Otherwise you guys are going to be gone. Europe will cease to exist as we know it. Now, what is this one here? Like I said, Marco Rubio's traveling all over the world or out all over the media landscape today, letting us know. He says, Secretary Marco Rubio reveals world leaders are begging to be part of discussions with President Trump to have their problems solved and to just meet with him. Trump is the problem solver.
Well, look, I didn't hear the entirety of the interview. I can only tell you that on both of those issues, on the case of Russia, Ukraine, the only leader in the world that has any chance of bringing it to an end is President Trump, and which is why he has put more time and energy into it than anybody else. All of these other countries, including Turkey, by the way, are begging us to be involved. They want us to be involved. Look, these people go out and say what they want to say, but at the end of the day, when they want something done, they want to come to the White House. President Erdogan is coming to the White House this week to meet with the president. They all come to the White House. They all want to speak to President Trump. They all want President Trump to fix it. So they can say whatever they want to say. The truth of the matter is that we have leaders, we have meetings going on today that we have leaders begging to be a part of it.
I think we're gonna finish this clip here, but I think what is happening now, listen, President Trump's first term, 2017 to 2021, he had a lot of world leaders that just didn't want to work with him. They refused. Trump, who is this guy? Who is this guy? He's not going to tell us. Second time around here, now that Trump is back in the White House, a little bit of a different dynamic. Have you noticed? A lot of world leaders that were quick to dismiss him the first time around, in 2018, for instance. A lot of these world leaders are coming back with their tail between their legs, saying, Mr. Trump, hey, can you help us out? Mr. Trump, hey, listen, we need you. You were right. Hey, Trump, as it would turn out, you were pretty much right about everything, and we need your help. Can you help us out? Little bit of a different dynamic this time around, folks.
They are calling, saying, can we be included? Can you bring us in? Can you get me 5 minutes to shake the president's hand? He is the indispensable leader in the world right now. He is the only one who has any chance of not just brokering a deal to end the war with Russia and Ukraine, but also bringing about the war that's going and getting all the hostages released in Gaza. And I think he's put more time and energy into peace proposals and peace initiatives than anybody else in the world. And he's had the most success of anybody else in the world. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but let's not forget the DRC and Rwanda had a war going on. It's the president that's brokered that. Azerbaijan and Armenia. It's the president that brought that about. Thailand and Cambodia. Right. It's the president that brought that end of that about. India and Pakistan. That's just four right off the top of my head in the last few months. And the president's the one that did that, not any other leader in the world, and not the UN.
I mean, this is just undeniably true. These are just undeniable truths. Even if you hate Trump, you hate him. You have to acknowledge, yeah, Trump so far, I mean, he's been in the White House for 8.5 months, almost 9. He's been a global peacemaker. It is true. That's just a fact. Now, we have a very interesting super chat here from a viewer on YouTube named Ziggy. Thank you very much. Curious hypothetical here. If Palestine becomes a state and both Israel and Palestine were allowed membership into NATO, how do you think that would work out? Thank you for being here. You are appreciated. Well, it's first off, it's never going to happen. That will literally never happen. And I'll tell you why here in a minute. But, you know, sort of the implication here is, you know, if you are in NATO, Article 5 of NATO says that if anybody attacks you, it's an attack on all of NATO. All of NATO has to come to your defense, right? It's a multilateral defense agreement, military defense agreement. So, you know, okay, so let's say hypothetically, if Palestine and Israel were both in NATO and then they attack each other, what happens? Well, it's a curious question, but it's just never going to happen. And the reason why is because, as you guys know, in order to join NATO in the first place, every other NATO member country has to vote. They have a vote. So all of the NATO members have a vote, and you need 100% unanimity. 100% of the members have to say, yes, we vote for Israel to join NATO, or we vote for Palestine to join NATO. Everybody has to agree. Is everybody in NATO going to agree? All of the NATO member nations going to agree to welcome in Israel? Of course not. Or to welcome in Palestine, for instance? Of course not. Keep in mind, you know, for instance, this comes to mind immediately. Turkey is a member of NATO. Turkey. Would Turkey, in the foreseeable future, ever vote to welcome Israel into NATO? Yeah, I think not. I think probably not. So It's a curious hypothetical, but it's one of these hypotheticals that is just so far removed from reality. It's kind of not even worth thinking about. It's like, hypothetically, what if aliens landed on my front lawn and got out a laser gun and blew up my house? What then? I don't know. It's not going to happen. So it's kind of like whatever. That's how I look at it, at least. I don't know. What if? Now we have another video from Marco Rubio here I want to take a look at. By the way, thank you again for that super chat. Everybody, we are here early in the morning. You guys are getting me fresh right out of bed. I'm right out of the shower. It's going to be a good early morning day. For me, it's not even 7 a.m. yet. We're going live early because we want to watch President Trump. Here is something I do need to do, though, because this is happening pretty soon. Trump is scheduled to speak here in 9 minutes, folks. So I want to make sure that I've got the live broadcast up and ready to go. By the way, they already have some speakers up here in front of the United Nations General Assembly. They're already talking a little bit. I think we probably don't care a whole lot what this woman has to say. So whenever President Trump comes on out, then we are going to tune in. Real quick, I'm going to check. Do we care about this? Take a look.
No international civil aviation organization anymore, which is responsible for setting safety regulations.
Do we care about that? I don't even know who this is. No, I don't think I do. By the way, good morning, Merlis. Everybody say good morning, Merlis. He's one of my favorite guys. We have Jeannie Hamilton in the chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep tabs on this. I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to keep my eye on that. And whenever Trump comes out, we are going to throw him up on the big screen. Now, until then, Marco Rubio, what's going on here?
Well, I think one of the things the president's going to have to address and is going to address is the UN itself. And that is, why do we still have a UN? It has tremendous potential. The UN is an organization that has the potential to do some great things around the world, but it's not doing it. If you look at Russia and Ukraine, you have a war going on there. It's the president that's been carrying the burden of trying to bring it to an end. The UN is playing no role. If you look at what's happening in Gaza with Hamas and everything that's happened there with Israel taking them on, what role is the UN playing? None. We're going to try here, and even as close to home in the Western Hemisphere, in a place like Haiti, that's been overrun by gangs that control that country and has destabilized the region. The U.S. is asking for the UN to step up and play a very important role. We have a lot of support, but it looks like China might stand in the way of this effort to bring that about. The UN will play no role if they do that. So I think what the president's going to do is challenge the UN to find its meaning and its purpose and its utility as an organization, because it doesn't seem to be doing the job, and it's pretty good at spending a lot of money. I think you can anticipate the president will.
The UN, in a lot of ways, reminds me of this old ex-girlfriend I had a long time ago, 10 years ago. The UN is really good at spending money and yapping. Yapping, doing nothing. Yapping and spending a lot of money. Reminds me of this old ex-girlfriend I had a long time ago.
Point to his own history with the UN, going back to his time here as a developer, where he actually offered to fix the UN building, and instead they chose to go in another direction, wasted a bunch of money, and really didn't achieve on the building's perspective what needed to happen. And I think it's emblematic of how feckless the UN has become as an organization. It's just a place where once a year a bunch of people meet and give speeches and write out a bunch of letters and statements, but not a lot of good, important action is happening. Yeah. So again, the UN has a lot of potential, but it's not living up to it.
And here's what he's saying, you can give speeches all you want all day, but unless you can actually make something happen, it's one thing to get up in front of an auditorium and give a speech, but unless you can actually bring action to those words, it kind of doesn't matter a whole lot. Now, speaking of bringing action to words, what is this? President Trump is considering banning Iranian diplomats from going to Costco when they travel to New York City for the United Nations. This is the retaliation that we need. I have been saying, guys, how many times have you heard me say, we need to ban Iranians from going to Costco? That is the only thing that these people will understand. You try to make nuclear weapons, guess what? You are not allowed to get a $5 rotisserie chicken in the back of the Costco anymore. You have effed around, and now it is time to find out. Huh?
Man. Yes, Andrew. Well, it turns out that Iranian diplomats may not see the savings at Costco. President Trump could ban them from the big box membership stores when they arrive here at the United Nations for the annual General Assembly meetings in about a week or so. You know, every year during the United Nations General Assembly meetings, the world leaders gather to deal with global issues, but they also come to New York to get deals. A little-known benefit from the world body gathering is the practice of international diplomats coming here to shop for stuff, getting things they just can't buy at home, like big screen TVs or the latest in computers. But in retaliation for supporting terrorism and plotting to kill President Trump and other U.S. officials, the White House may hit Iran.
Listen up, Khamenei. Listen, Khamenei. You are not getting any of the delicious Costco hot dogs. What are they? $1.50? Not for you. Well, hold up. Wait a minute. Are these pork hot dogs or are they beef hot dogs? I think they're beef hot dogs, which means it's good. If they're pork hot dogs, he doesn't want them anyway. It's the Islam thing. But anyway, no hot dogs for you.
On where it hurts, making Costco and Sam's Club off limits to the Iranian diplomats. Former U.S. United Nations diplomat Hugh Dugan tells us that by doing this, the president could make a point.
We used to catch Soviets buying the latest technology in Radio Shack and sending it home piece by piece. We put a stop to that. And when it comes to these wholesale clubs, purchasing very large-scale consumer items and taking them back through the diplomatic pouch via JFK Airport is something we want to restrict.
But the White House revoked the visas for Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and his diplomats, accusing them of undermining the peace process. Diplomats and their families from Iran, North Korea, Syria, and Cuba have long been restricted to traveling no more than 25 miles out of Manhattan. That's a limit a former Iranian foreign minister once called inhuman. And besides the restrictions on Iranian diplomats, the administration could also slap them on Sudan, Zimbabwe, and Brazil.
I was at Costco about a year ago. 2 kids, wife, and my dad was there. And I put in an order for 6 hot dogs. 6 of those hot dogs at Costco, at the Costco little deli there. And much to my mistake, I accidentally ordered 6 coffees, 6 of the iced coffees that they have instead of 6 hot dogs. I made a mistake. I ordered the wrong thing at the little kiosk. And so I went up to get my order and they handed me 6 of these iced coffees. I was like, where are my hot dogs? I said, I can't drink all of these. Can I give these back? Can we do an exchange? They said, no. The guy behind the counter said, no, you know, once we give them to you, we can't take them back. I said, well, can I give them to other people? He said, yeah, you do whatever you want with them. And so I turned around. It was a busy Saturday. There were tons of people behind me. And I said, hey, does anybody want free coffee? Does anybody want some free coffee? And I had all of these Costco moms, like moms with their kids doing their grocery shopping. They said, I'll take a coffee. And so on that day, I made friends with a bunch of Saturday afternoon Costco moms. I gave them all free coffee because I ordered way too many. It was my mistake. That was my bad. Hey, it was a nice thing to do though, I guess. Anyway, okay, we have a big super chat from Margaret Peterson. Maybe Margaret is one of the people I gave a coffee to at Costco long ago. She says, it's too early, but you are worth getting up for. Okay, sounds like you need some coffee. Me too. By the way, Margaret, thank you very much. Good morning. I know, by the way, I am keeping tabs. Folks, President Trump is coming out any minute. Right now, he's not out yet. He is scheduled to come out very soon. I got out of bed, gosh, I don't know, it must have been 5 in the morning to do this show. But I said, listen, if President Trump is speaking at the United Nations, it is the first time that he's speaking at the United Nations of his second term. We got to go live. We got to go live. And so here we are. Thank you very much for being awake and coming to the show. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Now, folks, I want to show you something. This is a little bit concerning. I'm going to skip ahead before Trump comes out here. Folks, little bit scary. This is hours ago, just earlier this morning. Thank you very much for that big super chat again. This is just a couple hours ago. Take a look. The Secret Service dismantled a network of more than 300 different SIM servers and 100,000 individual SIM cards in the New York City area that were capable of crippling the telecom systems and carrying out anonymous telephonic attacks, disrupting the threat before the world leaders arrived for the UN General Assembly. So, folks, Trump is in New York right now. The UN Assembly today is in New York, happening now. Trump is coming out any minute, and the Secret Service I don't even know how they found this. It looks like it's in some random New York City apartment building. This was a SIM cyber attack server apparatus that was somewhere in New York. They found this and they shut it down. Every single one of these is a little like cell phone SIM card, and they had so many of them you could use this to carry out some type of cyber attack. And we actually have some more information here. I want to play this video for you. The Secret Service put this video out. Take a look.
Hello, my name is Matt McCool, and I'm the special agent in charge of the
Matt McCool. My name is Matt Morris. I wish my name was Matt McCool.
Secret Service New York Field Office. We are making this announcement as a matter of public interest given timing, amount, and concentration of material recovered during a recent Secret Service Protective Intelligence investigation.
Okay.
Following multiple telecommunications-related imminent threats directed towards senior U.S. government officials this spring, the U.S. Secret Service began a protective intelligence investigation to determine the extent and impact these threats could have on protective operations. This was a difficult and complex effort to identify the source of these fraudulent calls and the impact on the Secret Service protective mission. During this period, we leveraged technical assistance and support of federal partners, including Homeland Security Investigations, the Department of Justice, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
Now, I have to say, guys, two days ago, I don't know if I could find this. 2 days ago on Twitter, I was reading some thread, I just kind of thought it was some crazy conspiracy. There's people always posting stuff like this on the internet, saying that there was some planned terror attack in New York today. I don't know where this intelligence was coming from. I have no idea. I read this on Twitter. There was going to be some attack at the UN today. And a part of this post that I was reading through 2 days ago said that in the aftermath of the attack, there would be a cyber attack following the actual kinetic attack. There'd be a cyber attack in the aftermath to try to shut down hospitals and emergency services, first responder services, that the cyber attack would follow the actual attack to try to shut down the response, the recovery. I forgot that I read that on Twitter 2 days ago, and I'm like, it's probably not going to happen. Well, and then I see this today. It's like, oh, wow, that is a little bit concerning. That is a little bit concerning.
We also received phenomenal support from our state and local law enforcement partners, to include the NYPD. The investigation led us to the New York tri-state area, where investigators discovered tens of thousands of co-located and networked cellular devices capable of carrying out nefarious telecommunications attacks. These devices allowed anonymous encrypted communications between potential threat actors and criminal enterprises, enabling criminal organizations to operate undetected. This network had the potential to disable cell phone towers and essentially shut down the cellular network in New York City.
Wow.
These devices were concentrated within 35 miles of the global meeting of the United Nations General Assembly, now underway in New York City.
Wow.
Given the timing, location, and proximity, and potential for significant disruptions to the New York telecom system, we moved quickly to disrupt this network. To be clear, these recovered devices no longer pose a threat to the New York tri-state area. We will continue working towards identifying those responsible and their intent, including whether their plan was to disrupt the UN General Assembly and communications of government and emergency personnel during the official visit of world leaders in and around New York City. Forensic examinations of the equivalent of 100,000 cell phones worth of data is underway.
Whoa.
Early analysis indicates cellular communications between foreign actors and individuals that are known to federal law enforcement. Given the sensitivity and complexity of this investigation, we are not able to go into specifics at this time. This is an open and active investigation, and we have no arrests to announce today. Rather, this announcement is...
They have no arrests? Then who was in the building? So nobody was in the building. I suppose all of this could have been activated remotely. Maybe the culprit isn't even in the country anymore. Oh man, this is nuts. We're going to look into this a little bit more too.
Is designed to safeguard critical infrastructure and responsibly provide the public what we can at this time. The Secret Service will continue to run down all leads until we fully understand the intent of the operation and identify those responsible.
Okay.
Poppy.
So I apologize. Okay, so this is an official video put out 2 hours ago by the U.S. Secret Service. By the way, there are less than 3,000 views on this video. Nobody has seen this, pretty much. There are more people tuning into this broadcast now than have seen this report put out by the Secret Service. This is breaking news. So if you're tuning in right now, the Secret Service this morning, by the way, the United Nations is going right now. Trump is coming out. He's scheduled to come out 5 minutes ago. These things always go a little bit behind schedule. So Trump is in New York City right now at the UN building. He's going to speak literally any minute now. They've got somebody else up there at the moment. The Secret Service foiled a massive cybersecurity threat. They found so every single one of these little things here, these are SIM cards. Inside of your cell phone, you have one of these. Little chip. You can see there's hundreds of them. So they apprehended 100,000 of them. 100,000 of them. And the Secret Service said that they've got enough SIM cards here. Whoever did this, there's enough data here, enough of a punch is packed here to shut down the entire New York City grid. To shut down New York City. My instinct is that this is espionage, said Mr. Ferrante, who previously served in top cybersecurity positions at the White House and the FBI. James A. Lewis, a cybersecurity researcher at the Center for European Policy Analysis in Washington, said that only a handful of countries could pull off an operation, including China, Russia, and Israel. So this is not some random dude. Like, this is not Joe Blow or Joe Schmo who was able to put together 100,000 SIM cards, get them into an apartment building in New York City. You have to have all the tech apparatus to make use of the SIM cards. He said this is a highly coordinated operation. Only a couple countries could do it. Russia, China, and Israel could do it. Wow. I want to find, can you guys give me a minute? I want to find more information about this because this is shocking, scary, startling. Somebody said that Laura Loomer was posting about this. Laura Loomer. What does she know about this? Allegedly, she had information here, but I'm not seeing that. Okay, maybe. Okay, actually, she does not know anything about this. Well, I want to find more information here because this really is just something crazy. So I'm doing a little bit of research here. Really just nuts. Yeah, they found an entire like apartment complex with all of these SIM cards. You know, here's maybe here's a better photo for you guys. Can I zoom out? They had 100,000 of these SIM cards. When activated, they would be able to cripple every single cell tower in New York City and jam every single 911 call. Now, I would imagine it's pretty difficult to get a hold of 100,000 SIM cards. You can't just go into a Verizon store or an AT&T store and say, hey, I would like to purchase 100,000 SIM cards, please. I don't think you can do that. In fact, I've got another photo here. Take a look at this. U.S. Secret Service has disrupted a fake network that was threatening New York City during the UN General Assembly. U.S. Secret Service found several SIM farms at abandoned apartment buildings. So it was multiple buildings, not just one, multiple. And so you guys know what a SIM card is. You got to pop them out of the little thing and plug them in. Look at that. Multiple apartment buildings. Now, the Secret Service actually had a written write-up here. I'm going to read through this, and I'll let you guys have the image up here. The U.S. Secret Service dismantled this is an official post from the Secret Service saying exactly what happened. I'm going to read this to you folks. The U.S. Secret Service dismantled a network of electronic devices located throughout the New York City tri-state area that were used to conduct multiple telecommunication-related threats directed towards senior U.S. government officials, which represented an imminent threat to the agency's protective operations. So they have transmissions coming from these SIM cards, from these networks, that were actually making threats to various U.S. politicians. So beyond the capacity to shut down New York City, they also have transmissions coming from this network here threatening U.S. politicians. I wonder, threatening what? What type of threats? Saying kind of specifically, I want to know what they were saying. This protective intelligence investigation led to the discovery of more than 300 co-located SIM servers and 100,000 SIM cards across multiple sites. In addition to carrying out anonymous telephonic threats, these devices could be used to conduct a wide range of telecommunication attacks. This includes disabling cell phone towers, enabling denial of service attacks, and facilitating anonymous encrypted communication between potential threat actors and criminal enterprises. This is some high-grade stuff here, folks. Listen, like we said, this is not some random guy that did this. This is legit. While forensic examination of these devices is ongoing, early analysis indicates cellular communications between nation-state threat actors and individuals that are known to federal law enforcement. Folks, this is the report from the Secret Service. They put this out 2 hours ago. They believe that this is a nation-state threat, as in another nation did this, that is also working in conjunction with numerous individuals known to federal law enforcement. What in the hell? This is a quote. The potential for disruption to our country's telecommunications posed by this network of devices cannot be overstated, said U.S. Secret Service Director Sean Curran. The U.S. Secret Service's protective mission is all about prevention, and this investigation makes it clear to potential bad actors that imminent threats to our protectees will be immediately investigated, tracked down, and dismantled. These devices were concentrated within 35 miles of the global meeting of the United Nations General Assembly, which is currently now underway in New York City. Given the timing, location, and potential for significant disruption to New York telecommunications posed by these devices, the agency moved quickly to disrupt the network. The U.S. Secret Service's Advanced Threat Interdiction Unit, a new section of the agency dedicated to disrupting the most significant and imminent threats to our protectees, is conducting this investigation. The investigation is currently ongoing. I got to tell you what, folks, here's my guess. We're never going to hear about this again. That's my guess. They have an investigation. I bet we never find out who did this. What do you want to bet? They figure out who it was, and they never tell us. That's my guess. I bet this gets memory hold, as they say. We're never getting information about this ever again. That's my guess. There's one more paragraph here. The Department of Homeland Security Investigations Unit, the Department of Justice, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and the NYPD, as well as other state and local law enforcement partners, provided valuable technical advice and assistance in support of this investigation. This is, once again, an ongoing investigation. Now, did they say, this is what I was reading here, put out by the official Secret Service. They said it's DHS, Department of Justice, Office of the DNI, and the NYPD. So the FBI, The FBI had no impact. The FBI did nothing here. The FBI was not involved in shutting this down at all whatsoever. Everybody else was pretty much, but not the FBI. Okay. All right. Man, I got to tell you, this is a pretty scary situation here. Now, folks, if you are tuning in right now, literally any minute, President Trump is going to be coming out on the stage at the United Nations, and Trump himself is going to be giving a speech. We are live at the United Nations right now. Trump is actually scheduled to go up on stage 16 minutes ago, technically. But you know how these things go. They're always a little bit behind schedule. So we've got somebody else up here. This, I believe, actually is Lula from Brazil. Is this Lula? I believe this is Mr. Brazil. I think so. Anyway, we're keeping an eye. President Trump's coming on out here any minute, and we have some more stuff to talk about. Okay, while we wait for Trump, man, this Secret Service threat, this is just astounding, nuts. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has just confirmed yet another lethal strike on boats full of narco-terrorists. Good for him. Take a look at this.
Because interdiction doesn't work. You want to stop these drug cartels, you have to make clear to them they're not going to get their boats here. Interdiction, they don't care about losing a boat. They don't care about losing some drugs. They've already factored that into their business model. What will stop them completely is if they know if they go out there, they're not going to make the journey. Look, this is an imminent, immediate threat to the United States. If you tell me there's a boat full of drugs headed towards the United States, to drop off drugs here and poison our people. That's as big a threat as if some, country was coming in to attack an American city. It needs to be stopped. The way it's been handled in the past hasn't worked. And boy, let me tell you something. You're not seeing nearly as many boats right now as you were a couple weeks ago. So it has worked and it will continue to work. And the president's very simple. He's not going to continue to allow these drug cartels to flood America with poisonous drugs that are killing our people indefinitely.
Over 100,000 young Americans dead every single year as a consequence of the fentanyl that was flooding into our country during the Biden administration, over 100,000 a year. And I really don't understand why people don't take that more serious. That is serious. In fact, I don't understand why people do not take that more seriously. You have these criminal cartel, terrorist, narco-terrorist organizations that are smuggling this deadly drug into the country, and they're also lacing everything with it. The vast majority of these Americans that were overdosing and dying to fentanyl, they didn't even know that they were taking fentanyl. It's not like they were thinking to themselves, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of fentanyl and I hope I don't overdose and die. No, they didn't even know that they were taking fentanyl. This stuff has made its way into everywhere, into everything. There's fentanyl all over the place. And young Americans, they're losing their lives, and it is an act of terrorism. There's a reason why the term is called narco-terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is coming out right now. Take a look. Here we go, folks.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Who's he looking at? He's not. He's throwing shade.
Hello, Madam First Lady. Thank you very much for being here. And Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, First Lady of the United States, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and world leaders, 6 years have passed since I last stood in this grand hall and addressed a world that was prosperous and at peace in my first term. Since that day, the guns of war have shattered the peace I forged on 2 continents. An era of calm and stability gave way to one of the great crises of our time. And here in the United States, 4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters. 1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America. We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity we inherited from the previous administration, including ruinous price increases and record-setting inflation we've never had before. Under my leadership, energy costs are down, gasoline prices are down, grocery prices are down, mortgage rates are down, and inflation has been defeated. The only thing that's up is the stock market, which just hit a record high. In fact, it hit a record high 48 times in the last short period of time. Growth is surging, manufacturing is booming. The stock market, as I said, is doing better than it's ever done. And all of you in this room benefit by that, almost everybody. And importantly, workers' wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? In 4 years of President Biden, we had less than $1 trillion of new investment into the United States. In just 8 months since I took office, we have secured commitments and money already paid for $17 trillion. Think of it, 4 years, less than $1 trillion, 8 months, much more than $17 trillion is being invested in the United States, and it's now pouring in from all parts of the world. We've implemented the largest tax cuts in American history and the largest regulation cuts in American history, making this once and again the best country on earth to do business. And many of the people in this room are investing in America, and it's turned out to be an awfully good investment during this 8-month period. In my first term, I built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the best economy ever, history of the world. And I'm doing the same thing again, but this time it's actually much bigger and even better. The numbers far surpass my record-setting first term. On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion. And for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been 0. Hard to believe, because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means. I want to thank the country of El Salvador for the successful and professional job they've done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country.
Bukele.
And it was under the previous administration that the number became record-setting, and they're all being taken out. They have no choice. And other countries have no choice, because other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country. and you have to do something about it. On the world stage, America is respected again like it has never been respected before. You think about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or 1 year ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. At the NATO summit in June, virtually all NATO members formally committed to increase defense spending at my request from 2% to 5% of GDP, making our alliance far stronger and more powerful than it was ever before. In May, I traveled to the Middle East to visit my friends and rebuild our partnerships in the Gulf and those valued relationships with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE and other countries are now, I believe, closer than ever before. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood.
He's cooking.
And then a teleprompter that didn't work.
He's cooking.
These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives. We saved millions and millions of lives with the 7 wars. And we have others that we're working on, and you know that. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me to testify before them on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between $2 and $4 billion as opposed to $500 million with a guarantee. But they had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger. Very sad to see whether the UN can manage to play a productive role. I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history. There is no more serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why, shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region, and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything. No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them. But we did something that for 22 years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done We have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, they have taken so much. This could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now. Just release the hostages now. Thank you. Thank you. As we have got to come together, and we will come together, got to get it done. We have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate, immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back. We don't want 2 and 4. As you know, I got, along with Steve Witkoff and others that helped us, Marco Rubio, we got most of them back. We were involved in all of them. But I always said the last 20 are going to be the hardest, and that's exactly what happened. We have to get them back now. We don't want to get back 2, and then another 2, and then 1, and then 3. Have this process. No, we want them all back, and we want the actually 38 dead bodies back too. Those parents came to me, and they want them back, and they want them back very quickly and very badly, as though they were alive. They want them. They want them every bit as much as if their son or daughter were alive. I've also been working relentlessly, stopping the killing in Ukraine. I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one. I thought that was going to be the easiest one. But, you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days, but it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from here on out, this was something that should have taken a matter of days, certainly less than a week. And they've been fighting for 3.5 years and killing anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, on both sides, every single week, from 5,000 to 7,000 dead young people, and some in cities, much smaller numbers, where rockets are shot, where drones are dropped. This war would never have started if I were president. This was a war that should have never happened. It shows you what leadership is, what bad leadership can do to a country. Look what happened to the United States, and look where we are right now in just a short period of time. The only question now is how many more lives will be needlessly lost on both sides. China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves.
China.
Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to the city. We have an ocean in between. You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that.
Ooh.
They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time. So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's the way it is. I like to speak my mind and speak the truth. As we seek to reduce the threat of dangerous weapons today, I'm also calling on every nation to join us in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. And biological is terrible, and nuclear is even beyond, and we include nuclear in that. We want to have a cessation of the development of nuclear weapons. We know, and I get to view it all the time. Sir, would you like to see? And I look at weapons that are so powerful that we just can't ever use them. If we ever use them, the world literally might come to an end. There would be no United Nations to be talking about. There would be no nothing. Just a few years ago, reckless experiments overseas gave us a devastating global pandemic. Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it could be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined.
Yes.
The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it. And
Mexico.
I call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed.
Mexico.
Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody has ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible. terrible, Mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time.
So based.
They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25,000, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe, in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland.
Oh, my God.
When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved, because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed. And it was also a historic victory against human trafficking throughout the region. What we did was a victory, and we saved so many lives of people that wouldn't make the journey. That journey was loaded up with death. Loaded up with death. Dead bodies all along the roads of jungles. To get up, they go through jungles, they go through areas so hot you couldn't breathe. They were dying of suffocation, areas so hot that you couldn't breathe. Dead bodies all over. By them not coming, we're saving tremendous numbers of lives. My people have done a fantastic job in doing what they did, and the American public agrees with it. I mean, I was very proud to see this morning I have the highest poll numbers I've ever had. Part of it is because of what we've done on the border. I guess the other part is what we've done on the economy. Joe Biden's policies empowered murderous gangs, human smugglers, child traffickers, drug cartels, and prisoners from all over the world. The previous administration also lost nearly 300,000 children. Think of that. They lost more than 300,000 children, little children, who were trafficked into the United States on the Biden watch, many of whom have been raped, exploited, and abused, and sold. Sold. Nobody talks about that. The fake news doesn't write about it. With many others, young children who are missing or dead. And we found a lot of these children and we're sending them back, and we've been sending them back to their parents. They said, nobody knows who they are. They said, where do you come from? And they'll give us a country and we'll find out and we'll figure it out and we'll bring them back to their homes. And the mother and father rush to the door and their tears in their eyes. They can't believe that they're seeing their son or daughter, their little son or daughter again. We've done almost 30,000 of them so far. Any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done, and it's what it's all about. In America, those days, as you know, are over. The Trump administration is working, and we are continuing to work to track down the villains that are causing this problem, and also, as I said, to get back the 30,000 we've already returned. Now I think we're going to have another. We're going to find a lot. You're not going to find all of them. 300, more than 300,000. They're lost or they're dead. They're lost or they're dead because of the animals that did this. To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as and you see this, and you see it happening right before your eyes. Let's put it this way. People don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly anymore. And we've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist organizations, along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. For this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America,
there they are.
Be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice.
That's them.
Can't let it happen. They're destroying. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs, 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen. Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work. They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great. The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad, so expensive to operate. And they have to be rebuilt all the time, and they start to rust and rot.
Think about the birds.
Most expensive energy ever conceived, and it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they have very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, is a long way to go, with many countries being on the brink of destruction because of the green energy agenda, and I give a lot of credit to Germany. Germany was being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green, and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in, and they went back to where they were, with fossil fuel and with nuclear, which is good. It's now safe. You can do it properly. but they went back to where they were, and they opened up a lot of different plants, energy producing plants, and they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that. They've said this is a disaster, what's happening. They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents. And it's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in New York City. I'm feeling a lot safer. Crime, we're getting crime down.
He doesn't
give a shit.
And
by
by
the way, speaking of crime, Washington, D.C. was the crime capital of America. Now it's after 12 days, it's a totally safe city. Everyone's going out to dinner. They're going out to restaurants. Your wife can walk down the middle of the street with or without you. Nothing's going to happen. My people have done a fantastic job. And yes, I called in the National Guard, and the National Guard took care of business. And they weren't politically correct, but they took care of business. We got 1,700 career criminals out, brought them back to where they came from, the countries where they came from, or put them in jails. Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city again, and I welcome you to come. In fact, we'll have dinner together at a local restaurant, and we'll be able to walk. We don't have to go by an armor-plated vehicle. We'll walk right over there from the White House. They've given up their powerful edge, a lot of the countries that we're talking about, in oil and gas, such as essentially closing the great North Sea oil. Oh, the North Sea, I know it so well. Aberdeen was the oil capital of Europe, and there's tremendous oil that hasn't been found in the North Sea. Tremendous oil. And I was with the Prime Minister I respect and like a lot, and I said, you're sitting with the greatest asset. They essentially closed it by making it so highly taxed that no developer, no oil company can go there. They have tremendous oil left, and more importantly, they have tremendous oil that hasn't even been found yet. And what a tremendous asset for the United Kingdom. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening, because I told it to him 3 days in a row. That's all he heard. North Sea oil, North Sea, because I want to see them do well. I want to stop seeing them ruining that beautiful Scottish and English countryside with windmills and massive solar panels that go 7 miles by 7 miles, taking away farmland. But we're not letting this happen in America. In 1982, the executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the President of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice, you want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late. The carbon footprint is a hoax made up by people with evil intentions, and they're heading down a path of total destruction. You know, the carbon footprint was a big, big thing a few years ago.
He's so based.
I remember hearing about the carbon footprint.
He's so based.
And then President Obama would get into Air Force One, a massive Boeing 747, and not a new one, an old one with old engines that spew everything into the atmosphere. He'd talk about the carbon footprint, we must do so. Then he'd get in and he'd fly from Washington to Hawaii to play a round of golf. And then he'd get back onto that big, beautiful plane and he'd fly back and he'd talk about, again, global warming and the carbon footprint. It's a con job. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. You cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint by 37%. However, for all of that sacrifice and much more, it's been totally wiped out and then some by a global increase of 54%. Much of it coming from China and other countries that are thriving around China, which now produces more CO2 than all the other developed nations in the world. So all of these countries are working so hard on the carbon footprint, which is nonsense, by the way. It's nonsense. You know, it's interesting. In the United States, we have still radicalized environmentalists, and they want the factories to stop. Everything should stop. No more cows. We don't want cows anymore. I guess they want to kill all the cows. They want to do things that are just unbelievable, and you have it too. But you know, we have a border, strong, and we have a shape, and that shape doesn't just go straight up. That shape is amorphous when it comes to the atmosphere. And if we had the most clean air, and I think we do, we have very clean air. We have the cleanest air we've had in many, many years. But the problem is that other countries, like China, which has air that's a little bit rough, it blows. And no matter what you're doing down here, the air up here tends to get very dirty because it comes in from other countries where their air isn't so clean. And the environmentalists refuse to acknowledge that. Same thing with garbage. In Asia, they dump much of their garbage right into the ocean. And over about a 1 week and 2 week journey, it flows right past Los Angeles. You've seen it. Massive amounts of garbage, almost too much to do anything about, flowing past Los Angeles, past San Francisco, and then somebody will get in trouble because he dropped a cigarette on the beach. The whole thing is crazy. The primary effect of these brutal green energy policies has not been to help the environment, but to redistribute manufacturing and industrial activity from developed countries that follow the insane rules that are put down to polluting countries that break the rules and are making a fortune. They're making a fortune. European electricity bills are now 4 to 5 times more expensive than those in China, and 2 to 3 times higher than the United States. And our bills are coming way down. You probably see that our gasoline prices are way down. You know, we have an expression, drill, baby,
Nós
drill.
reduzimos
And
os
that's what we're
custos
doing.
de
We're gonna be
energia
much lower in a
porque
year from now.
nós faremos
They've come
como
way
a
down over the
expressão,
last year.
vamos fazer tudo
Result,
isso, reduzir os
every
custos de
air
energia
conditioner
e os
is
custos
like
diminuíram nos Estados Unidos.
very uncommon to see one in
Thank
some
you.
of these countries
Por exemplo,
because
se você
the
olhar
electric costs are so high. So while
nos
the U.S. has
países
approximately
faturas de
1,300 heat-related deaths
nós não
annually, that's a lot.
climatizamos,
Europe loses
mas
more
nós
than
nos Estados Unidos
175,000 people to heat
conseguimos
deaths each year.
usar eles e evitar aumento da temperatura, porque é muito caro também usar
all in the name of pretending to stop the global warming hoax.
Dude.
The entire globalist concept asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on
agenda
themselves
mundialista não
and
tem nenhum
radically disrupt
sentido.
their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate.
Aumento da temperatura,
Dude.
Porque é muito caro também usar nada e ninguém
pretending to stop
Dude.
so much more than every country.
Shut up.
Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed.
True.
I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter. In the United States, we want trade and robust commerce with all nations, everybody. We want to help nations. We're going to help nations. But it must also be fair and reciprocal. The challenge with trade is much the same with climate. The countries that followed the rules, all their factories have been plundered. It's really sad to watch. They've been broken. They've been broken by countries that broke the rules. That's why the United States is now applying tariffs to other countries, and much as these tariffs were for many years applied to us, uncontrollably applied to us. We've used tariffs as a defense mechanism under the Trump administration, including my first term, where hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs were taken in. And by the way, we had the lowest inflation, and now we have very low inflation. The only thing different is that we have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into our country. But this is how we will ensure that the system works for everyone and is sustainable into the future. We're also using tariffs to defend our sovereignty and security throughout the world, including against nations that have taken advantage of former U.S. administrations for decades, including the most corrupt, incompetent administration in history, the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Brazil now faces major tariffs in response to its unprecedented efforts to interfere in the rights and freedoms of our American citizens and others, with censorship, repression, weaponization, judicial corruption, and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you, I was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him, and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? But we actually agreed that we would meet next week. We didn't have much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk. We had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign. But also in the past, Brazil, can you believe this, unfairly tariffed our nation, but now because of our tariffs, we are hitting them back, and we're hitting them back very hard. As President I will always defend our national sovereignty and the rights of American citizens. So I'm very sorry to say this, that Brazil is doing poorly and will continue to do poorly. They can only do well when they're working with us. Without us, they will fail, just as others have failed. It's true. Next year, the United States will celebrate the 250th anniversary of our glorious independence, a testament to enduring power and American freedom and spirit. We will also be proudly hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and shortly thereafter, the 2028 Olympics, which is going to be very exciting. I hope you all come. I hope that countless people from all over the globe will take part of these will be great celebrations of liberty and human achievement, and that together we all can rejoice in the miracles of history that began in July 4th, 1776, when we founded the light to all nations. And it's something really that an amazing thing came out of that date. It's called the United States of America. In honor of this momentous anniversary, I hope that all countries who find inspiration in our example will join us in renewing our commitment, values, and those values really that we hold so dear. Together, let us defend free speech and free expression. Let us protect religious liberty, including for the most persecuted religion on the planet today. It's called Christianity. And let us safeguard our sovereignty and cherish qualities that have made each of our nations so special, incredible, and extraordinary. In closing, I just want to repeat that immigration and the high cost of so-called green renewable energy is destroying a large part of the free world and a large part of our planet. Countries that cherish freedom are fading fast because of their policies on these two subjects. You need strong borders and traditional energy sources if you are going to be great again. Whether you have come from north or south, east or west, near or far, every leader in this beautiful hall today represents a rich culture, a noble history, and a proud heritage that makes each nation majestic and unique, unlike anything else in human history or any other place on the face of the earth. From London to Lima, from Rome to Athens, from Paris to Seoul, from Cairo to Tokyo and Amsterdam to right here in New York City, we stand on the shoulders of the leaders and legends, generals and giants, heroes and titans who won and built our beloved nations, all of our nations, with their own courage, strength, spirit, and skill. Our ancestors climbed mountains, conquered oceans, crossed deserts, and trekked over wide open plains. They charged into thunderous battles, plunged into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers and warriors and explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires. You're a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is a part of it in your own way. Each of us inherits the deeds and the myths, the triumphs, the legacies of our own heroes and founders who so bravely showed us the way. Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us. So together let us uphold our sacred duty to our people and to our citizens. Let us protect their borders, ensure their safety, preserve their cultures, treasure, and traditions, and fight, fight, fight for their precious dreams and their cherished freedoms. And in friendship and really a beautiful vision, let us all work together to build a bright, beautiful planet, a planet that we all share, a planet of peace and a world that is richer, better, and more beautiful than ever before. That can happen. It will happen. It will happen, and I hope it can happen and start right now, right at this moment. We'll turn it around. We're going to make our countries better, safer, more beautiful. We're going to take care of our people. Thank you very much. It's been an honor. God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much. Bye.
That was one hell of a cook-off. We're going to talk about this, folks. And by the way, there's a lot more happening today after this.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the United States.
The show is just getting going here today, folks. I'm going to see if they have any final statements here. Imagine what all these folks are saying out there in the audience. Everybody in that room right there. Now, you know, folks, Trump wasn't up there ranting and raving. It wasn't even particularly a high-energy, bombastic speech. This was a slow cook. This was a slow burn. And it actually sort of picked up in intensity a little bit the further we went on. But it was just very tame and mellow tonally. But if you listen to the message, you guys heard it, he just absolutely cooked. And by the way, first off, we must acknowledge President Trump, he got up there. He knows, we know, everybody knows, everybody in this room knows. Trump was just speaking from a position of absolute, undisputed, undeniable dominance over every single other person in that room. There is not a single other country that comes close. There's not a single other politician in this room in the world that comes close. And Trump knows it. Trump went up there. He did not give a shit. You can dislike it. You can complain about it. The radical left-wing media, they can complain and moan all they want about what he said. He knew what he was saying was true. He's speaking from a position of absolute and total dominance and power, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. It just is what it is. And he knows that, and we all know that. And he got up there and he roasted the living hell out of a lot of these countries that have bought into this climate change hoax, this hoax. In fact, not only bought into it, but they have facilitated the downfall, the demise of their own nations, pursuing this myth of this climate change agenda. And then he also, what I loved is that he called out the countries like China that are profiteering off of the climate agenda. He said, Europe, you have reduced your carbon emissions and you've killed your own economy trying to reduce your carbon footprint. You've signed your own death warrant. Meanwhile, China's the one selling all these scam products like these windmills. Look at China. Do they have many windmill farms in their own country? No, they don't. They're more than happy to sell you windmills. Wind turbines. Are they using them? No. Let's take a look at the Chinese carbon footprint. Oh, it's only going up. In fact, for every % that Europe has reduced their own carbon footprint, China has increased their carbon footprint by 2% or more. So he said he was actually rubbing their faces in it like a dog that has pissed on the carpet, a dog that has misbehaved. He said, Europe, good job, you bunch of idiots. He's rubbing their nose in it like he's scolding them. He said, good job, you bunch of idiots. You took the bait. Good job. You reduce your carbon emissions by 34% and you signed your own death warrant. Meanwhile, the Chinese are laughing. They are wringing their hands and laughing at you for your incompetence. Good job, you bunch of idiots. So Trump was just totally scorched earth. He also called out the United Nations for their complete and total refusal to actually chip into negotiating peace deals around the world. Trump said, I have personally negotiated 7 different peace deals. I've ended 7 different wars, some of which have been going on for decades, generations. I'm 31. Some of these wars have been going on longer than I've been alive. And Trump said in the last 8 months, I've shut these things down, and not once did I get any amount of aid or support from anyone in the United Nations. I did it. The United States of America did it. Where were you? Where were you? Those who claim to champion peace. You have your meetings, you have your discussion you know, sessions like this, you all gather in the United Nations, you talk about all the change you're going to have in the world. What change actually have you brought in this world? You've done nothing. I have done everything. The United States has done everything, is what he said. Man, he really is so based. This is, when we talk about leadership, this is exactly what we are talking about. He called out the predatory trade tactics of all of these nations to their face. He said, everybody in the European Union, less than half of you for decades now have been paying your agreed upon 2%. I got back in office. I said, guess what? Your punishment, you're going to pay 5% now. And if you don't, I will personally dissolve. I will dissolve NATO. NATO will be gone. You pay 5% immediately because you have neglected to pay your 2%. You thought 2% was bad? You're paying 5% now. Otherwise, we're gone. Peace. Pay up. The free ride is over. So incredibly based. So based. Finally. And then he said also, beyond that, all of these countries around the world, you've been engaging in these parasitic and predatory trade tactics against our incompetent previous administrations. Clinton, from Bush to Clinton to Obama to Biden, you people, and you know you have been taking advantage of us. It is over. Now that I am back in the White House, those days are gone. As Obama liked to say, no, Biden, as Biden liked to say, the adults are back in the White House. The adults are back in the White House is what he would say. Yeah, well, you were more like a geriatric. You had a 4-year-long nap in the White House. Now, really, the adults are back in the White House. And all of these countries that have been preying on the United States are getting their comeuppance. The day of comeuppance has arrived. And then finally, President Trump absolutely roasted all of these people, all of these other nations. And this is so sweet, juicy, this immigration problem. He said, listen, you bunch of idiots, if you don't shut down the immigration problem and shut down your border as we have done here in the United States, by the way, I did that. We had a problem just like you until I showed up. Now we don't have a problem. Now the deportations are underway. We've had 2 million illegal aliens leave our country in the last 8 months. What about you? You probably had 2 million enter your country in the last 8 months, European Union. He said, listen, if you guys do not shut down this immigration, you will cease to exist. And by the way, we need to have a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation here. Everybody, press 1 in the chat if you want to have an uncomfortable conversation. The problem with immigration, with people flooding into our countries, the European countries, Canada, United States, the problem is not only illegal immigration. The problem is immigration, period. Okay? We all focus on illegal immigration. That's been our big issue in the United States, but that is not the only issue. In fact, in a lot of ways, legal immigration is even worse, and it's a harder problem to solve. And it is just as, if not more problematic than illegal immigration. With illegal immigrants, they are here illegally. They have committed a crime. We can deport them. We want to deport them. Okay? But let's conduct a thought experiment here. Okay, we've got 50 million illegal aliens in the country right now. If we snapped our fingers and made all of them legal, if we granted mass amnesty, as Reagan did, he granted amnesty to 3 million illegal aliens in 1986, I believe. If we granted mass amnesty, would that immediately solve our immigration problem? No, it's because it's not a legality issue, really. It's not they're here illegally and they need to come in legally. It is a people problem. We don't want these people. The people are causing the problems. Whether or not they are here legally or illegally, we don't want them. We can't have them. We cannot tolerate these people. It is a people problem. It is an incompatibility issue. It is the people that are coming into Europe, regardless of legal or illegal. It is the people that are coming into Canada, regardless of legal or illegal. It is the people, the human element, that is causing the problem. We can't have these people in the country. They are not a good fit, to say the least. Regardless of what their passport says, regardless of what their visa says, it is a human problem. Okay? So the legality, yeah, sure. But like I said, listen, in a lot of cases, legal immigration is in fact a harder problem to solve because they are technically here legally. Okay? We have a bunch of people in this country that are technically U.S. citizens that should not be here. Let's be honest. We have people in this country that are technically here legally on some type of visa. They are here in the country legally that, let's be honest, should not be here. Okay? We have to figure out a way to solve that issue as well. That is a problem. They are not assimilating. We have a big lack of assimilation going on in the United States and also in Europe. My wife is German. And you know what? Full disclosure, I'm saying everything I'm saying about immigration. My wife is an immigrant. My wife is literally on a green card. My wife is from Germany. My wife is a German woman, a white German woman who has been in the U.S. now for 5 years on a green card. She is here legally. Let's just be blunt here. German immigrants are not causing problems in this country. We don't have a problem with Germans in the United States. That's not exactly the problem. The problem is immigrants coming. Like I said, it is a people, it is a culture, it is an ethnic thing, perhaps. We have a problem with people coming from maybe various places in Africa, various places in the Middle East, various places from Latin America. We don't have a problem. Nobody is saying, ah, man, we have too many Swedish people in the United States. Ah, these Swedish people, these Swedish immigrants are causing so many issues. They're not assimilating. Has anybody ever said that? No. No, they haven't. Has anybody ever said, we have too many Germans, they're ruining the country? No, nobody has said that. So when I say it is a people problem, it is a human problem, it is an incompatibility problem. That is what I'm talking about. And Donald Trump actually said as much. Donald Trump said this. Donald Trump, he did make this an ethnic thing. He said, listen, our ancestors built these countries, the sweat of their brow and the blood in their veins. Our ancestors and our blood built these countries, and they built them, these nations, for us. Our blood, our ancestors built these nations for us, their progeny, their descendants. We descend from the builders of these cultures, of these nations. And as such, it is our obligation to give those nations that they gave to us, to our descendants, to our children. Imagine receiving a gift from your forefathers and not giving that gift to your children, to your grandchildren. It is our obligation. It is, we must preserve what has been given to us by our forefathers. And we've been doing a pretty bad job at that, frankly. We've been doing a bad job at that. And so Trump got up here and he scolded everybody. He scolded all of these nations. And you know, the best part about this is he was speaking to the nations that are currently being destroyed by mass immigration, but he was also speaking to the leaders of the nations that are causing the mass immigration problems. You know, you had the delegates from Somalia, you had delegates from Pakistan and India and Ethiopia. And you had the delegates from Venezuela here today. Some of these countries that maybe we don't really want so many of your people. Maybe we have decided we have too many Somalians. We have too many Indians, maybe we have decided. Maybe we have too many Venezuelans. And so Trump was speaking to them, maybe the creators of some of these problems, just as much as he was speaking to the recipients of some of these problems, the recipient nations of some of these problems. And so Trump, really, you need to understand the context here. Trump got up here and said, I'm sure, some very uncomfortable things to a lot of these countries, but that doesn't make them less true. Doesn't make them less true. Sometimes the truth is incredibly uncomfortable. That doesn't mean you shouldn't speak truth. In fact, perhaps speaking truth is most important when it is uncomfortable. Speaking a comfortable truth really doesn't have a lot of value. Speaking the uncomfortable and inconvenient truth is really what defines the man. And I think we all saw the definition today. That was a great speech. And like I said, it wasn't bombastic. It wasn't over the top. He wasn't yelling and screaming and shouting. It wasn't Hitlerian. It was like a stern father. It was like a fatherly speech. You understand? It was like your dad he said, listen, son, take a seat. son, come here. We got to have a talk. That's what this speech was. It was out of love and it was out of kindness. It wasn't out of hate or rage or anger, but it needed to be said. What was said today needed to be said. And the reason why is because what was said is the truth. It was the truth. And the truth must be said, as we said a moment ago. It was a very paternal speech. He said, listen, you guys are messing around a little bit too much. We got to clean up our act here. You guys need to clean up your act here. Okay, get a grip, get it together, is what this speech was. Now, folks, we have this guy up here speaking. I don't know what the hell. I don't know where he's from. I don't know what he's saying.
Boots on the ground.
Frankly, I don't really care about anything this guy has to say. Now, folks, there is something I want to share with all of you. This is, one moment, please. This is the official schedule of the day. We just heard the president deliver remarks to the United Nations General Assembly. By the way, that was about a 50-minute speech. Good for him. 50 minutes on a Tuesday morning, early in the morning. And now we know that President Trump is going to participate in a bilateral meeting. And by the way, I believe this will be broadcast. This will be live. We will be able to watch this live because we have the out-of-town travel, the press pool. So this is 11:10 a.m. What is that? 8:10 a.m. is when this is scheduled. I'm sorry, I'm looking at for my clock here. So actually, President Trump should be participating in this bilateral meeting like 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago. So he's probably heading over there right now immediately, and we're going to see this soon. I believe we're going to be able to watch this bilateral meeting. And by the way, what is the difference between a bilateral meeting and a multilateral meeting? A bilateral meeting is one-on-one, two people, two parties, United States and somebody else. I don't know who, some other country. I don't know who. We don't know who. But he's got two different bilateral meetings, number one, number two. I believe we're going to be able to watch both of these. I'm not sure exactly who he's talking to. And then later on in the day, there's a multilateral meeting that we cannot watch. It is closed to the press, in which multiple nations are going to be participating. So, I actually am. Can I go to the White House official page? Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Trump. Okay, so here we go. We just got the word Trump. Okay, folks, we are in fact going to be able to watch this bilateral meeting. This is happening very soon. I don't know with who. Secretary General of the United Nations. Okay, one moment here. Okay, folks, I think at this point, what I'm going to do is take a quick 90-second break, and I'll be right back. This is going to start any minute. We are just getting going, folks. We have probably another 3 hours of Donald Trump speaking and giving meetings and speeches. So, like I said, the day is just getting going. So stand by, folks. I'll be back in 90 seconds. We're going to be doing another day of all-day news coverage. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I've got a question here. You know, it is early on in the day. It's early morning, North America. I figure we probably have a lot of Europeans here tuning in because it is late afternoon, early evening over in Europe. So real quick, everybody do me a favor while we wait for President Trump to come on out. He's going to be meeting with the United Nations Secretary General, literally any second now. Everybody, post your country. If you feel comfortable, post the country in which you are living. I am curious, where is everybody from? Because we went live, we are really early in the morning right now. For me, it is 8:26 in the morning. We've got Canada, we've got Deutschland, we've got America, we've got Australia. I always forget about the Australians. Oi, mate. Oi, Sweden. From Sweden, my wife actually knows how to speak Swedish. She used to work in Sweden. My German wife used to work in Sweden a little bit. So she speaks, she's fluent. We have United Kingdom. I am fluent in British. So fun fact about me, I speak American and I speak British. Israel. We have I've seen a lot of Swedes. South Bronx, New York, New Zealand. We have a Kiwi, Antarctica. That's hard to believe. We have Ireland. Look, everybody's here. We have a Berliner. All right, Alberta. We like the Albertans. They're my favorite type of Canadian is the Albertans. We like them. Maybe, in fact, maybe they're the only type of Canadian I like. Don't tell the rest of them, though. Anyway, we like the Albertans. We have a guy from Thailand, Slovakia. Man, I never would have guessed we have so many people from Antarctica today. I never would have guessed. South Carolina, Florida, USA. We have Texas. A lot of people from Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland. All right, we are going multinational. We're all over the place today. For years, I was a streamer over on Twitch, actually, playing some video games for like 8 years. I was a Twitch streamer in my early 20s, and predominantly my audience was always European. I generally streamed in the morning, about now, and my audience was almost entirely Europeans long ago. Now, these days, everybody's American, generally. Predominantly Americans these days, a couple Europeans still, but I've spent a lot of time hanging out with Europeans. Of course, you know, I married one. I married a European. I love Americans the most, but hey, I even married a European. We've got family in Western Germany, right by Luxembourg, on the border with Luxembourg. In Rhineland-Pfalz, if we have any Germans, that's the state. Ah, you're from Luxembourg, okay. Jerome is from Luxembourg. We have Felipe is from Chile. All right, hey, everybody's here. Everybody's here today. Folks, President Trump is coming on out here any minute, and he's going to be meeting with the United Nations Secretary General. Somebody said, is that Mark Rutte? Mark Rutte is Secretary General of NATO. So I actually am not sure who is the UN. Who is the United Nations Secretary General? It is this individual here, Antonio Guterres. This is him here. And so what is his nation of origin? Oh, I'm on the this is who I want to be on this page. Born in 1949. He's been around for a while. Portuguese politician and diplomat who is serving as the 9th and current Secretary General. All right. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, dear. My lovely wife has brought me a cup of coffee. All right. Once again, folks, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Trump is going to be live here talking again. I appreciate it. Your name is Linda, and you're from the USA. Hi there, Linda from the USA. Hey there. So he's from Portugal. And so, you know, presumably this guy speaks English. It's always a little bit difficult when one half of the conversation has to use a translator. So we are praying right now that this guy knows how to speak English, that he is speaking English. Presumably, I feel like if you are presiding over the United Nations, probably you know how to speak English. Matt, does your wife have a sister? My wife is actually an only child. I hate to say it. I apologize for you, sir. Although if she had a sister, I probably wouldn't hook you up with her anyway, so sorry. But anyway, no, only child. My wife comes from a very, very small countryside German village, literally a German village. It has like 1,500 people in the middle of nowhere. 1,500 people, very small country, old school, real old school Germans. Hey, listen, my mother-in-law, you got to watch out. You guys know Germans are a little bit serious. They're a little bit stern, okay, sometimes. You think you have a mother-in-law? Listen, hey, I have a mother-in-law, okay? Ooh. No, but we like her. We love her anyway. We like her. We love her. She's very nice. Somebody said that he's a socialist. This person here, Antonio Guterres, I saw somebody say, Social Democrat Party. He was the prime minister. No, he lost. He lost to the Social Democrat Party. I don't know. He was active in a Catholic youth group. Anyway, so folks, this is who President Trump is going to be meeting with here any minute now. Any minute now. We're going to be having a bilateral meeting. And so you know what? Listen, you guys saw President Trump. He just went a little bit scorched earth on the United Nations. Well, guess what? Who is in charge of the United Nations? This guy. He's the Secretary General. He's the head honcho, Antonio Guterres. You think President Trump is going to keep up that rhetoric? Is he going to say to this guy's face, listen, hey, UN, you need to actually try doing something. Hey, Mr. United Nations, have you considered actually doing something ever? Trying to actually do anything? So we're going to figure it out. We'll see. I say, yes, ma'am. You know, my mother-in-law, she still to this day, she's trying to pressure us to go move to Germany. We're not. I can't. We're not going to move to Germany. But every single time I talk to my mother-in-law, she's laying down the law. She's like, listen, you got to come back to Germany. You need to move back to Germany. Of course, I'm not. I was talking to her not too long ago on FaceTime. And I was talking to her and I said, hey, listen, you're going to be so happy. We are teaching our daughter German. She's 4 years old. She's learning German so she can talk to you. It's going to be great. And she said, well, that is great, but what about my son-in-law? She said, yeah. The granddaughter is learning German, but what about my son-in-law? I said, huh. Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. Listen, mein Deutsch ist schlecht, aber ich bin beschäftigt. I'm busy, and ich bin faul, lazy. I'm lazy, and I'm busy, and my German is not good. Mein Deutsch ist scheiße. It's not good. Someday, maybe, though, we're speaking more. I don't know. Really, it's a good thing. It's a good thing anyway. It's a good thing to learn another language. It is, but, you know, I'm a busy guy. There's a lot going on every single day. I don't know. You got to find time for it. I'm not learning Arabic. Yeah, you know, with the way Germany is going these days, maybe you do need to just learn Arabic. You gotta go talk to your local imam. No, but hey, listen, you just heard what President Trump said. Maybe President Trump is going to send such a nice message to the Germans today. You know, maybe they're going to say, wow, you know what? Okay, yeah, we got to get these people out of here. We got to have some deportations of our own. My wife, any Germans in the audience, I'm going to tell you something. Here in the US, we talk politics all the time. Everybody is talking politics. We wear our politics on our sleeve. It's all public. Everybody's talking politics. In Germany, I feel like they are a little bit more private with their political beliefs. Do you think so? I think Germans are a little bit more reserved and private with how they feel politically. So I'll tell you something. My wife and her family, her entire family, they are voting and supporting a certain political party in Germany. It's called Alternative for Deutschland. The AfD. My wife is a big time AfD supporter. My wife also loves Donald Trump. My wife is a big Trump supporter. Of course, so am I, you know. And so my wife and her family also in the countryside, they're big time AfD supporters. And it seems like AfD kind of is taken over. They're taken over a little bit. They're gaining in popularity. For the Americans in the audience, the AfD in Germany is the AfD is kind of like the Make America Great Again party of Germany. It's kind of like the Make Germany Great Again party. They have a lot of very similar policy points to Donald Trump and the Trump party, the Republicans at this point. It is probably their single biggest policy point is shutting down immigration and also getting rid of people, deporting people back to where they came from. In a lot of ways, very similar. Not entirely, but as far as immigration goes. Now, President Trump is going to be coming out here any minute now, folks. I see a super chat over here on Rumble from Resin. He says, I've been a fan since before the Classic Cast days. Wow, you have been around for a long time. After slaying dragons in Azeroth, who knew you were calling was slaying the mainstream media and the entire radical progressive movement. Listen, these radical progressives, they have no idea who they're dealing with now because, listen, I don't want to brag, but I was one of the best World of Warcraft players in the entire universe, in the entire world of Warcraft. I spent the last 10 years slaying dragons and fighting demons, and so really these radical leftists, they have no idea. They're nothing. They are nothing in comparison to Nefarian, the leader of the Black Dragon Brood. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm happy you're here still. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I see this is over on YouTube. This is from Eddie Parentau. He has gifted 5 community memberships. I appreciate that a lot. By the way, every single time you guys become a member or somebody gifts out a membership like that, like Eddie, then you guys don't have to watch ads anymore. Membership equals no ads, and there's a lot of ads on YouTube. I see sometimes people are complaining about it. So membership equals no ads. It's a big deal. Also, there's YouTube Premium, or you can get an ad blocker, I guess. But there's a couple things. But anyway, it's a big deal. Thank you very much. Mind Blocked. He says, a post here can get you a fine of 3 times month salary or more. Oh, listen, I know. Crazy fun fact here. There is what I would characterize as an anti-free speech law in Germany. It's called NetzDG, Netzwerkgesetz or something like that. Anyway, it's called NetzDG. And what it does is it regulates free speech, generally politically charged speech on the internet. And I kid you not, almost every single day, I have German viewers that will report my YouTube channel for German NetzDG violations. And it doesn't impact me at all because I'm not a German and I live in the United States and I don't have to follow, as an American, I don't have to follow the German rules. But still, every time it happens, YouTube sends me an email. Says a German has reported you for this NetzDG violation, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't impact me because I'm an American. But yeah, if I was living in Germany, if we moved to Germany, then it would be a problem. Then I would be, I don't know, paying fines. I'd be paying a ton of money. And maybe I'd go to jail. I don't know. Probably just paying fines. So anyway, yeah, it's NetzDG, and still I have German viewers that report my broadcast. It doesn't matter though, because I'm an American, so it is weird. There is a little bit of a difference there. I don't know, maybe they're not happy with some of the stuff I say. I don't know. Too bad. It's too bad. Nothing you can do, sorry. Now, folks, if you're tuning in right now, we are waiting for President Trump. He's going to be meeting with the United Nations Secretary General any minute now. He's coming on out. I'm going to take a look and see. Do we have maybe another broadcast? No. Oh, this is Erdogan. Everybody pronounces his name differently. Of Turkey. This is Turkish Prime Minister. He's talking about something going on in Gaza. Erdogan, however you say his name. He is, maybe not the biggest fan of a country. It's called Israel. He's not the biggest fan. He's got I guess he doesn't speak English though. Anyway, folks, Trump is coming out soon. Soon enough. Ardone, I don't know. Brilliant speech. Yeah. So any minute now, really. In fact, Trump was scheduled to start speaking technically 30 minutes ago. 30 minutes ago. So he will be out here any minute now. I guess our show is a little bit behind schedule here today. Okay. That's the way that it is. Advertisements are targeted to influencer behaviors. Actually, so the way YouTube advertisements work, it actually doesn't matter about me so much. YouTube is putting ads based on you. So YouTube knows stuff that you guys like, your preferences. I don't know, maybe they've got access to your Google search history because YouTube is owned by Google. They know what you want. If you're craving a Carl's Jr. hamburger, they're going to put a Carl's Jr. hamburger advertisement in front of you. They know. They are tapped in. So it's kind of less about me and it's more about you. They know whatever you guys want. They know. I don't know. Seems like nobody's taking Tylenol these days. Tylenol is now, man, probably going bankrupt. Not a good day for Tylenol. Although, listen, I think President Trump is probably don't take it. Probably don't take it. It's probably not good for you. Don't take it. He said, do not take Tylenol. Okay, fine. I'm not going to take it. This is from Phoenix Feathers. He says, Matt, thank you for what you do and your family do to keep us informed.
States,
here we go.
Was
Thank you.
essential in the founding of the UN.
Folks.
And for decades, we have relied on the United States as our major political and financial supporter, thanks to the generosity of the American people, which we are very grateful about. On the other hand, I believe there are many areas where we can cooperate in a positive way, and I would think that the most important is peace. You have selected peace as a central objective of your mandate, and you have been going north and south, east and west, in all possible situations, getting or trying to get ceasefires, alleviating tensions, making peace agreements, or the building blocks of peace agreements. And I want to reassure you that the United Nations, from me to our teams on the ground, to our missions, we are entirely at your disposal to be able to work together for a just peace in the world, based on our common values.
Thank you very much.
The Constitution of the United States.
Right.
And one thing is, for me, extremely important, is that the suffering, the horrible suffering of millions of people in the world can be stopped.
Right.
And we fully appreciate your engagement in that regard.
Thank you very much. It's always an honor to be here. We've done this before, and this was a little more exciting because of the escalator and the teleprompter, but these things happen. But I will tell you that your people have treated us with great respect. Our country is behind the United Nations 100%. I think the potential of the United Nations is incredible, really incredible. It can do so much. So I'm behind it. I may disagree with it sometimes, but I am so behind it because I think the potential for peace with this institution is so great. So I just want to thank you for treating us so warmly. We very much appreciate being with you.
Great pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, press. Guys, keep moving. Thank you, guys. Thank you, press.
Press. Huh? Thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody, for joining. So I guess that is the talk. That is the conversation right there. That is what that was. Now, curiously, I'm trying to make sense of what's going on here, just as much as you guys. Take a look. We got another one here, though. So this was that. The president participates in a bilateral meeting. That is what that was. There is another one that is scheduled for 15 minutes from now. The president is set to participate in another different bilateral meeting, which will also be live broadcast. Don't play that. scheduled for 15 minutes from now. So I am going to hang around. I'm going to watch that also with you guys. I want to be here and cover that. Wow, what a great and productive meeting between President Trump and the Secretary General of the United Nations. Very impressive. I think they really just got a lot done. In fact, they might have just solved all of the world's issues with a conversation like that. So anyway though, jokes aside, we've got another one in 15 minutes. So folks, we're going to keep on hanging out here. Now, there is something that I wanted to show you guys. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. We're going to keep an eye on this. We have okay. There's something I want to show you guys. And this is very concerning, so stick around and do not leave, because what I'm about to show you actually is pretty nuts. Is this? Yeah, this is it. Okay. Okay, folks, big time problem here. This was posted by Laura Loomer. Yeah, I'm going to read through this, and then I'm going to give some more context. Take a look at this. Must read. Urgent intelligence alert. The NCTC confirms Al-Qaeda presence on U.S. soil. Imminent multi-city Islamic terror attacks. Al-Qaeda. Sources tell me tonight that the National Counterterrorism Center, the NCTC, has officially determined that the Islamic terrorists affiliated with Al-Qaeda have infiltrated U.S. soil and are actively planning a series of coordinated Islamic terror attacks. This marks the first time federal counterterrorism officials have openly acknowledged the immediacy of such threats, signaling a potential escalation in domestic jihadist activity not seen since the height of ISIS-inspired plots in the mid-2010s. According to the NCTC latest assessment shared in a classified briefing to congressional leaders and leaked today, Al-Qaeda cells, emboldened by the group's resurgence in Afghanistan and the North and Central Africa, have embedded themselves across major urban centers in the U.S. This has been confirmed by intercepted communications, financial tracking, and human intelligence. Sources tell me this is a sophisticated operation aimed at maximizing casualties and chaos. The reason why I'm reading this with you folks today right now is because we know for a fact the Secret Service, listen, the Secret Service 4 hours ago busted this absolutely massive, I'll read the statement. The Secret Service dismantled a network of more than 300 SIM servers and 100,000 SIM cards in the New York area that were capable of crippling telecom systems and carrying out anonymous telephonic attacks. They disrupted the threat before world leaders arrived for the United Nations General Assembly today. So the Secret Service found this. They identified this massive cyber terror network here. And we were talking about this a couple hours ago. We talked a lot about this earlier on in today's broadcast. And then you have this report from Laura Loomer on the same day. Now, where did we leave off? Okay. Indicators of preparation, uniforms, hospitals, and deception tactics. My sources tell me the attack strategy by Al-Qaeda is designated to sow confusion and cripple emergency response. These terrorists have been purchasing large quantities of police and first responder uniforms from surplus outlets and online vendors in at least 5 different states. These acquisitions, traced through bulk credit card anomalies and CCTV footage, suggest a plan to impersonate law enforcement during the assaults, allowing attackers to blend in, direct panicked crowds, or even execute secondary strikes on fleeing victims. I just want to make sure we're not missing if Trump if we're doing the second one here. Okay. I think we're good for now. Nuts. I'm gonna keep reading here now. My sources tell me the Al-Qaeda terror attack plans in the U.S. are focused on hospitals and medical facilities. NCTC even has evidence that these terrorists are scoping emergency rooms, trauma centers, and triage points in cities like New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, and Miami. The intent appears clear: disrupt healthcare infrastructure to prevent treatment of the wounded, effectively creating a, quote, second wave of fatalities through denial of care. So Step one would be carrying out some massive terror attack, wounding or killing a bunch of people, a bunch of Americans. And then step two, I guess the idea here is that after the first terror attack, they would carry out a cyber attack, shutting down our 911, first responders, crippling the police ability to communicate, shutting down cell towers, and, you know, interfering with hospitals so that people can't get the care that they would need in the aftermath of the attack, is kind of the idea here. In the event of an attack, civilians could face a nightmarish scenario where friend and foe are indistinguishable, with medics overwhelmed and no safe haven for the injured. The potential for hundreds, if not thousands, of additional deaths in the chaos is described by one DHS source as, quote, horrific beyond comprehension. The plot's scale points to simultaneous strikes. Oh, the plot's scale points to simultaneous strikes across multiple cities, echoing al-Qaeda's historical ambitions for mass casualty operations like 9/11, but adapted for urban guerrilla tactics. Targets could include soft sites such as crowded events, transportation hubs, and public gatherings. We are under attack. Now, this is where the conversation is going to get a little bit crazy. I'm sure a lot of you might be asking why. If you are al-Qaeda, you know, let's go down the rabbit hole here. Why would they do this? Don't they know that the United States would bring hell on earth to al-Qaeda? Don't they know? Didn't they see what we did last time? We spent 15 years in the Middle East. We killed hundreds of thousands of people. It was terrible. Don't they know that we would just go scorched earth on them? They do. I've seen a lot of, you know, military theorists or military strategy theorists. This is one of the leading ideas that I've read, is that al-Qaeda, they know they will never defeat America in a conventional war. They know they can't. The only way that they can cripple or weaken or contribute to the ultimate defeat of the United States is to draw us into yet another elongated conflict in the Middle East. Think about the damage that the war on terror did to our country. We are trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt because of our conflict in the Middle East, the war on terror. We got bogged down, and it was immensely negatively consequential to our country, to our budget, I mean, we have tens of thousands of young Americans with PTSD, thousands more that lost their lives. It was negative for us to do that. It caused a lot of damage to our country, undeniably so. And al-Qaeda, they say, yeah, we got to do it again. We got to draw them back in the Middle East again. We want them back. They actually want us back, bogged down, wasting money. It's going to sow internal political strife and division in our country. Half the Americans are going to be for it. Half the Americans are going to be against it. We're going to be tearing ourselves apart. They want that. That is what they want. They want us back. They want American soldiers deployed in the Middle East that they can try to pick off and pick apart. They know it's going to be causing chaos and strife internally, domestically in the country. It's going to be incredibly negative for our budget, for our economy. And so this is what they want. And so if you're asking the question, why would they try to carry out some massive domestic terror attack on U.S. soil? Don't they know that we would go back to the Middle East and mess them up again? That's what they want. At least that is one of the leading theories. That's one of the leading theories. And this is, listen, they know, these Middle Eastern terrorists, they know that they cannot defeat us in a form of symmetric warfare. So what do they engage in? Asymmetric warfare. They want us bogged down on their turf, on their soil. That is it. And they, you know, for every dollar that they spend fighting us, we spend $100,000 fighting them. It's asymmetric. It is asymmetric warfare. That is what they want. And I think, you know, we can't, God forbid there's a terror attack like Laura Loomer is talking about here today. We already had some type of very strange occurrence. Maybe you could call it an attack. I'm not sure, whatever you would characterize this as. Already some weird things are going on today. Now, folks, President Trump is going to be coming on out, and he's going to be having another bilateral meeting here with somebody from the United Nations. So we just had the first one, and now we're going to have the second one. President participates in a bilateral meeting. So that is kind of what we are on standby for. We are waiting for that right this very moment. I should probably go ahead and change this headline I have up at the top of the screen. Sorry, folks. I'm a one-man production crew. I'll say, we can say bilateral meeting soon. There, that'll work. Okay. You know, I think all of us kind of agree. I think a lot of us are kind of on the same page. We do not want to have another war in the Middle East. We don't want to have any wars. We have had enough young American soldiers getting deployed to foreign combat zones halfway across the world, getting their legs and arms and fingers blown off, 7,000 miles away from U.S. soil. I think we've had enough of that. We had 18 years of that, technically, something like that. We lost thousands of Americans. We ought not be doing that anymore. We've done enough of that. And I think we need to avoid that at all costs. And by the way, I think that Trump is avoiding that at all costs. I think Trump is avoiding that. Now, what I'm seeing actually, hold up, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm actually checking the schedule here. 1 p.m. Eastern, folks, is actually about 1 hour from now. 1 hour from now. So we have about an hour. We're going to hang out and we're going to talk about the daily news. That's what we're going to do. Check this out. This happened earlier this morning on the streets of New York. President of France, Macron, had a little bit of an incident. Police in New York City stopped Macron's car because the street is closed for Trump's convoy. Macron calls for Trump to allow him to pass, but Trump humiliated him and told him to walk instead.
I'm sorry, I'm the president. I'm really sorry. It's just that everything's in frozen right now. There's a motorcade coming right now.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm sorry. If you don't see it, let me cross.
You can't cross.
How are you? Guess what? I'm waiting in the street because everything is frozen for you.
He called Trump on the cell phone. You gotta walk, buddy.
Look at me, look at me. Voila.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, just a little reminder of who is calling the shots here. A little bit of a reminder here. So folks, once again, we have about, I'm going to actually put the time up here. We do have about 1 hour is what's going on here today. Trump bilateral meeting at 1 p.m. Eastern. So we are on standby. This terror situation, this is concerning. I'm going to close a couple of my tabs up here, folks. Laura Loomer has the inside scoop on, this alleged Al-Qaeda terror attack. Read more about the report here. Wait a minute. Oh my God, guys. Wait a minute, guys. Laura Loomer is not pulling this out of her behind here. She just got all of her information from dni.gov. This was released by the Director of National Intelligence. She directly linked to her source, which is an official .gov. Yeah, I'm just kind of skimming this here, seeing if this checks out with what she herself, but making sure that she's not, distorting this. Seems to be the case. Seems to be that this is a legitimate concern. I think she's not pulling this out of her wazoo, which makes it, regretfully, even more concerning. And this is compounded with the fact that the Secret Service identified a massive cyber terror apparatus in New York City earlier this morning, just hours before the United Nations began their get-together, began their dialogue today. So in my mind, yeah, this is probably connected somewhat. This is connected somewhat. If you did want to shut down a bunch of cell towers and mess with a bunch of hospitals and shut down hospitals and shut down cell service and sow confusion in the country, as this report indicates, well, this is what you would have. This is what you would do. This is, you're looking at it. That's exactly what this is. That's the purpose of this. And by the way, this information has been corroborated, but this is information coming directly from the U.S. Secret Service, is what this is. They apprehended all of this tech, all of this hardware. The media tried saying that Iran killed Charlie Kirk. Really? Frankly, I haven't seen anything saying that Iran killed Charlie Kirk. I've seen a lot of discussion from people like Candace Owens, sort of suggesting or kind of maybe tap dancing around this notion that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. I don't really think that's the case. I have no trouble believing that Tyler Robinson is just a radical far left, violent freak. So I guess you could say that I pretty much, I believe the official narrative about the Charlie Kirk assassination. I don't really think that there's anything too crazy other than the fact that, yeah, this was a young man who was radicalized by a bunch of other far left freaks. Now, do I think that there are other far left radical freaks just like him working together? Do I think that other people knew about this attack beforehand, this assassination beforehand? Yes, I do think he was in a Discord server with other people just like him. Yes, I do think his roommate probably knew about this stuff beforehand. Yes, I do think that. I do believe that. So insofar as that goes, I don't think Tyler Robinson was a lone operator. I think he was in a group with a bunch of other far-left radical nut jobs. But was Charlie Kirk assassinated by Israel? I just don't really think so. I just don't really think so. I haven't really. I've been kind of keeping tabs. I've seen some of the stuff that Candace Owens has said. I just personally, I just don't really find a whole lot of it compelling, frankly. I just kind of don't really buy into it. There was something Candace Owens said yesterday. I'm going to pull up the clip. Candace Owens is just going down the rabbit hole. I'm trying to find where this was. In fact, I think she's just getting a little bit out there for me. What did she say here? This was her yesterday.
I'm wondering if the federal government has explored the possibility that somebody could have been under Charlie and done that. While everyone's looking around and thinking that a shot went off from here, if that was just maybe like decoy number 2, and actually Charlie was shot from beneath him, which then could maybe explain why there was no exit wound. Again, I'm theorizing because I have a right to. I have a right to think. I'm wondering.
So now, I guess, as far as I understand it, now she thinks that that Charlie was shot from beneath, that somebody was in a secret tunnel complex beneath Charlie Kirk's setup, his booth, and somebody fired up at him. I'm sorry, I just don't. Sorry, sweetie. I just don't really think that's the case. Of course, she's right. Insofar as you're more than welcome to ask questions and, talk about different theories, I guess. Yeah, sure. Sure, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your American right to do that. But I also just don't really agree. I just don't think any of that's the case. Now, I'm gonna see what else we have going on here. Breaking news, folks. I'm checking around the web. President Trump really just did deliver a stellar cook-off. He did. Breaking next star. Oh, wow. Next are the largest ABC affiliate group is refusing to air Jimmy Kimmel on their networks. Wow. That means over 60 ABC stations will not be airing Jimmy Kimmel, as Sinclair has declined to bring him back as well. So you guys saw, this is the news, is that ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel. Disney got involved and said, hold up, you got to bring him back. Bring him back. And then Sinclair, which is this cable network syndication company, and Nexstar, likewise, cable network syndication company, has said, yeah, listen, we're not going to do that. We are not going to do that. Quote, we made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. We stand by that decision, pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets that we serve. In the meantime, we note that Jimmy Kimmel Live will be available nationwide on multiple Disney-owned streaming products, while our stations will focus on continuing to produce local news and other programming relevant to their respective markets. So what they're saying is that Jimmy Kimmel is irrelevant. Jimmy Kimmel is now irrelevant. They prefer news and relevant content. Jimmy Kimmel is fake news and irrelevant content. However, I guess you can watch Jimmy Kimmel on Disney Plus. Everybody's going to be watching Jimmy Kimmel on Disney Plus. He's going to be making no money. His reach is going to be so limited now because he's been pulled off of the cable networks. Now, I've seen a lot of conservatives that are saying, hey, listen, Disney, we are canceling Disney Plus. Guess what, Disney? You're going to keep on hosting Jimmy Kimmel. Well, we are canceling our membership now. I've seen a lot of people saying that. What is going on here? The man who shot up Sacramento's ABC station because they suspended Jimmy Kimmel left a note warning Trump officials they're next. By the way, there is speculation here that the reason why Disney has decided to bring back Jimmy Kimmel is because they are scared of violence. And the reason why is because, as you heard, some far-left, radical, violent nutjob actually drove in front of the ABC TV station and shot it up with a gun. And we know this guy was a far left radical. People have found his Twitter page. He was hating on Trump. He was trash talking Trump. He left a note warning Trump officials, you are next. Referencing. So this guy was a far left radical. He was so upset that ABC pulled Jimmy Kimmel from the air that he drove down to ABC news station and shot him up and left a threatening note. California released him on bail. That is the most quintessentially Californian thing that you possibly could do. Astounding. The FBI has rearrested him. He even signed the note, CK Charlie Kirk from above. He said on the note, do not support Patel, Bongino, and AG Pam Bondi. They are next, is what this guy said. A calendar reminder saying, do the scary thing was also located. He had in his calendar scheduled, quote, do the scary thing. Leftist violence is out of control. Yeah. Yeah, leftist violence is completely and totally out of control. Folks, Trump is going to be speaking in about 50 minutes. So we are on standby here. This is a TPUSA event yesterday afternoon featuring Michael Knowles.
Charlie.
Wow.
Thank you all for joining us, and we'll get started in just a moment.
I'll tell you what, the far left is just absolutely screwed. They cannot even fathom just how screwed beyond belief they are. They have it's a mix of the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's a mix of their unhinged, violent rhetoric. It's a mix of their terrible political policies over the last 10 years. It's a mix of the catastrophic failure of the Biden era. It's a mix of President Trump's success, the success that he's having and what he's doing right now. The far left, they are screwed. They are unbelievably screwed, is what they are. And so we're looking for updates right now. Folks, we are kind of on standby, waiting for President Trump. He's going to be speaking not too long from now, about 50 minutes. And so in the meantime, we're just kind of scouting out everything that's going on, minute by minute here. I see Funny Guy. He says, YouTube keeps on preventing me from sending super chats. I think my views are not acceptable. Well, hey, I see it there, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. You know, I have to say, well, you know, you guys need to keep in mind, I'm coming from Twitch. I spent 8 years on Twitch. And so what I was going to say is that YouTube is actually like, I feel like you can say a lot. You can't say everything. It's not like Rumble. On Rumble, you can really say whatever you want. Like, really. On YouTube, you can say a lot, though. Not everything. On Twitch, it is like a totalitarian regime. You cannot say anything on Twitch. You will be shut down. You will be suspended. Not allowed, not tolerated. 1 p.m. Eastern is 1 hour and 50 minutes from now. Nope, it is 48 minutes from now. In 48 minutes, President Trump is coming on out. He's going to speak. And we're going to get to the bottom of this entire situation. Trump will be speaking to the UN. He's going to be having a bilateral meeting. Yeah, unless your name is Hassan. If your name is Hassan Piker, you can say whatever you want on Twitch. Pretty much, you're just not allowed to be a conservative on Twitch, is the problem. In fact, by the way, at this very second, I am suspended from Twitch. I think I get unsuspended from Twitch in like probably 12 hours. Incidentally, I am currently I got a 3-day suspension from Twitch. And the funny thing about being suspended on Twitch is that they never actually tell you why, or at least they never tell me why. They said, hey, you said something wrong. And I'm like, okay, what did I say? What exact, just so I can make sure not to say it again. Well, we don't know. I don't know. But you're suspended. You're suspended, and we're not even going to tell you what you said. Okay. All right. And by the way, this exact situation, getting suspended without being told why, has happened to me 4 times in the last 12 months. It just, and you guys know, I'm not like, screaming racial slurs or anything like that. You guys watch my live broadcasts. I'm not really that unhinged. I've been suspended on Twitch 4 times in the last 12 months, and not one time. Not once have I ever even been told why. I don't know. I do not know. However, Hassan, who's championing political violence time and time again, he's supporting terrorist organizations. All good, no problem. No problem at all. Listen, Falcon's Disciple has just gifted 5 community memberships on Rumble. I want to say thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate that a lot. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave this up on the screen just so people have that up there. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, there was something I was looking here. I was seeing that, as it would seem, the CEO of Twitch has been called to speak in front of Congress. I believe next month, the Twitch CEO will be speaking in front of Congress to talk about all of this radical far-left indoctrination, propaganda that's going on the website. What is going on here? You know what? I've got a very curious video that I want to show you folks here. So, as you all know, yesterday President Trump officially signed the executive order designating Antifa as a far-left terror organization. Well, take a look at this. We have an ex-Antifa member, formerly a member of Antifa, who is now praising President Trump's decision to do this. Take a look.
Trump officially signing an executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terror organization, all as the White House aims to crack down on the sources funding the group.
President Trump has promised he will directly address the dark sources funding and supporting this domestic terrorism to finally restore order in our country. The American people can expect further, very strong action on this very soon. Everyone, Republican, Democrat, everyone in between, we all deserve to live in a country where we do not have to fear for our lives simply for stating what we believe in.
Former Antifa activist Gabriel Nadales joins me now. Thanks so much for being on the program. And look, it is unclear at this point exactly what this designation means legally. But, Gabriel, what are you hoping it means?
Well, you know, this is a long time coming, and I really hope that that Congress really follows suit and helps define what this means. But what some of these things means is that a lot of the self-described Antifa groups that are very localized, now we can actually call them legitimately domestic terrorist groups. And now there's a lot of ideas, or there's this idea that Antifa is merely an idea, and to an extent that is true, but Antifa is a very collective or a specified set of ideas that believes in political violence to enact.
Okay. If I'm expected to believe that Antifa is simply an idea, they are not a coordinated organization whatsoever. One very basic question: how do they all show up at the same place at the same time, wearing the same thing? Same outfit, same location, same place, same time. How does that happen? How does that happen? This must be, to some extent, a collective of people that are communicating and planning and preparing, because otherwise they wouldn't be popping up at the same place wearing the same thing at the same time, right? I think that just kind of logically makes sense a little bit. There must be some amount of organizational preparation going on here. That shut it down.
Its own political goals. That is literally the definition of terrorism. So if you call Antifa just an idea, it is literally the definition or the idea of terrorism itself.
When you first heard about this move from the White House, did you think, okay, this is to get the folks dressed in black on the ground that you see destroying communities? Or did you think more so, like I said in the introduction, this is to find the people funding Antifa?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because Antifa has several different sources of funding. One of the ways that I remember from back in my day, a lot of people did have jobs and they were self-funded. But I do know that there's been several different, like, I'm not sure specifically, it's not GoFundMe kind of thing, but websites like GoFundMe that will set fundraisers for Antifa activists to get them out of jail, to do all of these things. I remember several years ago that you had Representative Ocasio-Cortez.
They are crowdfunding domestic terrorism. Amazing. Amazing.
Supporting people to donate to bail people out of jail who were affiliated with Antifa. And there's also book author Mark Bray, who wrote the book Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook, who actually donates a proceed of his books to certain unnamed Antifa-esque organizations. So there's definitely a lot of different sources of funding from the grassroots level to a lot of different fundraisers and campaigns.
Do you think that this designation as a terror organization will force people to think twice about joining or funding Antifa? And I'm asking you this based upon your experience in this group, listening to the people, being alongside them. You think this slows Antifa down in any way, shape, or form?
Well, actually, I wrote about this on The Hill several years ago, I think maybe 5 years ago, that labeling Antifa a domestic terrorist organization would really have two effects. The first one is that it really will help law enforcement to really target some of these terror cells. But the second of all, it would be to a PR battle, because to an extent, Antifa continues to claim itself as the anti-fascist, and like, oh, if you are against Antifa, you're pro-fascist. But that's nothing can be further from the truth.
This is one of the stupidest points, in fact. I saw one of this, I forget his name, one of these big left-wing TikTokers. He was having a debate on TikTok yesterday, and he said, I'm Antifa because I'm anti-fascist. Are you anti-fascist? Then you also must be, and if you're not Antifa like me, I'm Antifa, and if you're not, then you must necessarily be a fascist. This is the stupidest argument. Okay, listen, we are Republicans. If you're not a Republican, does that mean that you hate the Republic? Huh? I'm a Republican. I vote for Republicans, and you don't. Does that mean that you want to see the total downfall and destruction of the Republic? No. You know, well, actually, in this case, maybe. Actually, maybe. with those people, maybe. But, you know, it's just such a stupid, linguistic, dumb argument. You know, and okay, you know what, guys? Here's an idea. Let's rename the Republican Party into the Good Guy Party. Going forward, we shall be known as the Good Guy Party. We are the good guys. Our name is the Good Guy Party. And what that means henceforth is that if you are not a member of the Good Guy Party, you are a bad guy. You're a bad guy because we're the good guy. Do you see how stupid this is? Do you see how incompetent this is? I'm Antifa, and if you're not a member of Antifa, then you're a fascist. This is just so stupid.
Truth. To combat Antifa is to combat political violence, no matter where it comes from. Because to a certain extent, and actually to a great extent, whenever a lot of these Antifa activists, they are themselves the terrorists, they are themselves the fascists. So labeling them as such, as domestic terror groups, it really helps in the battle against Antifa in the PR realm, because it really shows them for what they are. They are a domestic terrorist movement.
Gabrielle, before we let you go, why did you stop being an Antifa activist?
Well, you know, there's a lot of reasons why, but I always talk about how I started reading about Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman. I really kind of opened my mind. And as soon as I started talking to my friends about these ideas at the time, they started calling me a capitalist pig and all these other things. They started ostracizing me because I dared to ask questions when I was still a kid. I was like 17. And, you know, that's kind of what opened my mind to see, like, well, what else is out there? So I started becoming involved in the liberty movement. And I slowly walked away from that. It was not a like overnight thing. It was a slow transition, but really that's some 10 years ago now.
I'd like to say that we're happy you're on the side of good, but, you know, I'm pretty sure the Antifa folks won't be happy I said that. I'm just going to have to deal with that. Gabriel Nadalis, thank you so much.
So he was in Antifa when he was 16 or 17. You know, I think, you know, especially for young adults, young men that grow up in some of these, you know, radically far left progressive areas. Maybe they're in Seattle or Los Angeles or Portland, Oregon, you know, whatever. I don't want to like hand wave people joining Antifa. At the same time, if everybody you know, if everybody in your age group at your high school or your community college or whatever, if all of the people around you are joining Antifa, because that's like the thing to do in Portland or whatever, you know, like, yeah, that's kind of what happened. So, you know, good on him. Good on him for getting out while he did before it was too late. Before it was too late. Good for him. Thank God. Folks, President Trump is going to be speaking in, 37 minutes. Oh, my goodness, folks. I want to show you something. I don't know if you guys saw. Kamala Harris has been promoting her book. Did you hear about this? Kamala Harris wrote a book. And she is going on all of these left-wing media outlets to promote her book. And in case you have forgotten just how stupid Kamala Harris is, I'm going to give you a little bit of a reminder because now we've got some really just totally incompetent audio clips. Yeah, hold up. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get these set up for you guys. She's back. She called President Trump a communist. And no, I kid you not. She called Trump a communist. If I can find the clip here. Here it is. Here it is. You guys will like this one. All right. So first off, take a look at this.
A tyrant.
I should probably turn up the audio here. There we go.
A tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now in Donald Trump. And these titans of industry are not speaking up.
Donald Trump is a communist dictator. Donald Trump is a communist dictator. It's like, first off, Kamala, you are so stupid on multiple levels, on numerous levels. The first level is, Kamala, Kamala, however you say her name, do you not understand that amongst your own electorate, the Democrats, the progressives, communism is cool? Communism is vogue. Communism is chic, Kamala. You're not supposed to be... Kamala, this might be why you lost the election, dummy. You should be embracing communism because all of your stupid voters, they love it. They love communism. So she's up here saying, Trump is a communist dictator. Listen, all of your supporters, they love communism. They're communists. So first off, that's the first stupid thing that she just did. Second off, Trump is like obviously not a communist. This is the most incompetent thing. Probably 3 years ago, I read. So you don't have to. I read the entire Communist Manifesto. I read the book, and there was one part that stuck out. Karl Marx, he says, in his own words, he says, if I could summarize communism or distill communism down into one sentence. This is from Karl Marx himself. He said this in his own book. He said, if I could summarize communism into one sentence, it would be the complete and total abolition of private property. There's a one sentence description of communism from Marx himself. The complete and total abolition of private property. Is that Trump? Is Trump trying to completely and totally abolish private property? Yeah, obviously not. This is obviously just incompetent. Kamala Harris will say all of these words. I don't think she even knows what they mean. She says fascist, communist, dictator, what? I don't even think she knows what she is saying herself. She has no clue. Because she went on, take a look. Kamala Harris declared to the nation that President Trump is a communist dictator as she promoted her book. Oh, hold on. Frick. Where's this other clip? Here it is. That's the one we just watched. Here's this one. After having called President Trump a communist dictator, Kamala Harris is now saying that she supports Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral candidate, who is quite literally a self-described communist.
As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this. He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama, Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor, too, and they are stars.
Nobody's ever heard of any of them. Nobody cares about them.
So I hope that we don't so over-index.
Trump is speaking now? Is he? Is he? Somebody said that Trump was speaking. But I don't think so. No, he's not. No, he is not. False alarm. Okay, hey. Fake news. No more fake news in the chat. So anyway, Kamala Harris is on one hand, just like moments apart, calling President Trump a communist dictator and then also endorsing and supporting literal communist mayoral candidates. Not the brightest bulb in the box, to say the least.
Let's talk about Kamala Harris's book. She's got a book out. I guess it opens up today, but last night she gave an exclusive to Rachel Maddow, who at which time was kind of mild in her questioning. I'm not sure she read the book. I've seen more excerpts. She seemed and they talked more about what was going on in politics. But here's Kamala Harris on why she why she regrets not being more aggressive and telling Joe Biden not to run.
So when I write this, it's because I realize that I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on. Which is, and so when I talk about the recklessness, as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. There was so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, you know, the where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving.
I'm sorry. I just have to say, before we continue on here with this coverage, Kamala Harris is just so stupid. She is just such a fundamentally stupid person. And I'm not just saying that because I disagree with her politics or that she's a Democrat. There are people on the left I can acknowledge I disagree with them, but they're not brain dead. Barack Obama, he was not a stupid man. I disagree with his politics. I don't support pretty much anything he did, but he wasn't a complete and total moron. Joe Biden, if you go back and watch Joe Biden speaking in front of the Senate in the 90s or the early 2000s, Joe Biden was a silver-tongued devil. He could hold his own in a conversation. He was a slippery guy. He was sharp. He was sharp before his brain went to mush. Do I support anything he did? No, not really. But Joe Biden was not a stupid guy back in his prime, that is. Kamala Harris, man, she is just so stupid. She is such a stupid person. I'm sorry I'm being rude, but man, she is a moron.
Right now, you wrote this book, allegedly. You should be able to talk very fluently about it. And she's still speaking in parables and phrases. And you don't understand the point that she's trying to make. And it takes her so long to finally make some sort of a point.
Well, why say this now? Is it because she wants to run for office down the road and she's defending why she didn't tell Joe Biden he should get out of the race? She's saying she's blaming herself now. But earlier, where was this conversation when she was running for president? Because she said, oh, no, nothing's wrong with Joe Biden. He's fine. He's fine. She runs for president. What if she had won? Would she be saying this?
God help us.
Well, you know, it's interesting. She says when she announced, well, this is what some of the bigger names said. Barack Obama, saddle up, Joe. I hope Joe would do just that, but you have to earn it. Michelle and I are supportive, but we'll not put our finger on the scale. Gretchen Whitmer, I believe you'll win, but I need to let the dust settle. Thanks. Nancy Pelosi, I'm sad about Joe. My heart is broken, but now it's you. It's important that this process, we have a great bench. Bernie Sanders, enough on abortion, more working class. Gavin Newsom, hiking. J.B. Pritzker, I'm governor of Illinois. I'm the convention host. I can't commit. So
I love Gavin Newsom.
Have a united party.
I love Gavin Newsom. I'm hiking. We'll call you back. And he never did.
You know, I'm going to say here, this will make sense here in a minute. I'm not one of these guys that buys into the narrative that Putin wants to invade all of Europe and conquer all of Europe. That's kind of what we've been told from the left and from some of the NATO members. I don't really think that's the case. However, if Kamala Harris was our president right now, maybe Putin would have done it. Putin would just say, you know what? Who's going to stop me? Who's going to stop me? He might have done it just because he could. Just because he knew he could get away with it. If Kamala Harris was in the White House right now. Seriously, just because she is that stupid, she's just that weak.
Was talking about Democrats less than enthusiastic when she was asking for endorsements. She also writes that she was sitting in the Situation Room at the White House with Joe Biden. Yeah. And Joe Biden said, if for any reason I decide to drop out, I would support you, but only if that's what you want. It occurred to me that I haven't asked you. And she writes that he had clearly rehearsed the speech. It wasn't spontaneous. Then she says, I'm fully behind you, Joe. But if you decide not to run, I'm ready. And I would give it my all. I would give it all I've got because Trump has to be beaten. Then a week later, he called her to say, I'm leaving the race.
All I'm going to say is, can you blame these people for not wanting her? Did you see her performance last night? She wasn't prepared at all. She's had so much time, almost 9 months to think about this, reflect about it. She apparently wrote about it.
I was muted. I'm muted. I apologize. Let me restart. Let me rewind. Rewind here. I was saying I might be a little bit insensitive here when I say this, but has anybody here known somebody that is a really serious alcoholic? Not casual alcoholic, like a real serious, legitimate, it's really a problem type of alcoholic. That's the vibe I get from Kamala Harris. I don't know if I'm right about that, but their brain is kind of a little slow and dull and kind of mushy. They're kind of slurring. And not only when they're drinking, but kind of always. It's more of a permanent affliction. That's I get like real serious alcoholic vibes from Kamala Harris. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea. But that's my outside impression of Kamala Harris. I think there's something going on here.
And she didn't rise to the occasion. I kept thinking, thank God she's not president, as she was speaking last night.
She was much stronger as a senator. And
AG.
Yeah. You talk about the fracture with Joe Biden. It is fractured. She said for a while there was a plan she talked about believing it would have hurt her ability to lock down delegates. She needed to see. Joe Biden immediately said, I'm going to wait a while. I want the dust to settle, and then I'm going to name you. He says, no, I need to lock down the delegates. And she said he had to wait 11 minutes to address the nation. It hurt. He also spoke for nearly an hour at the convention, and he barely mentioned her. At the remember this, the Democratic Convention? He says it was all about his legacy speech. But if we waited for some personal stories about working with me and what qualities, we all waited for it. In the end, he barely endorsed me. So, and she went on to complain about him. These two will never talk again.
No,
they'll never.
This is worse than Obama.
Well, and what is Joe Biden's Jill? Dr. Jill Biden. We all have heard the rumors. Jill Biden absolutely hates Kamala Harris. And you know what? I'm on Team Jill Biden. I stand with Jill Biden. I'm on Jill Biden's team. I also hate Kamala Harris. Jill, I stand with you. I stand with you, Dr. Jill Biden. Come on, you're right. You are right. Kamala Harris is an idiot. You are right about that, at least.
Biden's relationship.
Then she was asked by Rachel Maddow about Pete Buttigieg, because in her book, she wrote something to the effect of, I didn't think that it was too risky for the two of us to run together on a ticket, even though he was qualified. Listen.
In one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States.
Oh, my God.
And as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man.
Oh, my God.
With the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire
Rachel Maddow was not happy because she is obviously a gay man. I'm sorry, a lesbian woman. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Rachel Maddow is a lesbian woman, not a gay man. My apologies. The Matt Morris TV independent fact checkers have gotten involved. She's a lesbian woman. Now, she's not happy, obviously, because what Kamala Harris is saying here is that she would have picked Pete Buttigieg, who is a gay man, but instead she chose Tim Walz because he was a straight white guy. Because the stakes were too high. The stakes were too high to include a gay man on the ticket.
entire life. So it wasn't about yeah, right. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. And I think America is and would be ready for that.
No.
But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go.
I'm going to give you my opinion here. I think America needs another straight white man. I just really think that is what this country needs now. The country is so divided. And I sincerely say this, we need probably another 10, maybe another 100 straight white male presidents. And I really think that is what this country needs, in my opinion.
And maybe I was being too cautious.
Or maybe just come out and say it. You believe the country is racist. You believe the country is homophobic. Just come out and say it. Don't speak in a parable about it. Maddow was clearly annoyed by her answer there, but still wanted to be protective of her. The second thing also, guys, she's still with the fascism talk and the dictatorship. A man has just been assassinated, part of the movement, and she doesn't tone down the rhetoric. And they keep saying Donald Trump needs to tone it down, yet his enemies, the people that are on the other side of the aisle, continue to say the same stuff.
Right, and she said she won't commit about 2028, and they'll just let that go. Also, she came out and said about Joe Biden, she made a major speech at the Ellipse, but Joe Biden put on the MAGA hat. That became the story. And then she finds out, when she gets some momentum, that she called Trump supporters garbage. She had to deal with that for a while. So she says that Biden, clearly, his gaffes hurt big time.
She also wrote about Joe Biden's response to Gaza. She writes in the book, I had pleaded with Joe when he spoke publicly on this issue to extend the same empathy he showed to the suffering of the Ukrainians to the suffering of innocent Gazan civilians. But he couldn't do it. While he could passionately state, I am a Zionist, his remarks about innocent Palestinians came off as inadequate and forced.
That's Kamala Harris saying that. That's curious because I remember Kamala Harris's speech at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. We watched that live. Kamala Harris, this really pissed off her base. In fact, I don't know, maybe this cost her the election. I don't know. Kamala Harris was super vocal about her support of Israel. And that was obviously very controversial amongst the left, her Democrat, her left-leaning electorate, because they are not fans of Israel. They are super pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, whatever. And so Kamala Harris, her DNC speech, she was talking on and on. I'll never forget about how much if she's elected, if I'm elected, I will support Israel, I'll give them whatever they need. That pissed off a lot of people on the left.
So Joe Biden again split the difference because he was not supportive of Israel. He was holding back weapons. At the same time, to his wide left, he was not doing enough to condemn the Israelis for making after their 1,200 people were killed brutally and over 200 were taken hostage, for coming back strong in Gaza. So either make a strong stance, but don't stay in the middle.
I'm Steve Doocy.
So this is the picture that she was talking about here. When Joe Biden did this, Joe Biden put on the Trump hat. Allegedly, he didn't know what it was. He didn't know what the hat was. But anyway, he put on the hat on the campaign trail when Kamala Harris was campaigning. And this pissed her off. Rumor has it that Kamala Harris had a complete and total meltdown. There's also another rumor that Joe Biden did this intentionally to screw over Kamala Harris. I guess if that's the case, Kamala Harris would be justifiably upset because it did to some degree, screw her over, I guess, a little bit. But Joe Biden, he was not happy with the way that this went down. He was forced out. He felt backstabbed and betrayed by his fellow Democrats. They pushed him out. Joe Biden thought that he was fit as a fiddle. He was going to keep the campaign going. His wife, Jill Biden, was livid that Joe Biden got pushed out. And so, there's kind of this civil war that took place where, maybe it was the case that maybe Joe Biden did intentionally subvert or undermine the Kamala Harris campaign. Could have been. This is what that would look like if Joe Biden did want to undermine the Kamala Harris campaign. What would that look like? This is what that would look like. All right. Hey, it looks good wearing the hat. It's a good looking hat. Okay. Now there's another little video that came out on CNN. This one's going viral right now. Kamala Harris's favorability rating from Americans has plummeted. This is hot off the press. Take a look at this.
Talking about here. Well, let's take a look at her net favorable ratings nationwide. Back in October of 2024, she was at -5 points. Not exactly great, but pretty close to the zero mark, right? Pretty close to even. But now, down under she goes. She's at -13 points. That's an 8-point drop since the general election among the overall electorate. She is not well liked at this particular point. The American people, they don't want this. They don't want her. And get this, she's 37 points underwater with independents. If you can't win independents, you can't win the election. And
if the Democrats decide to run Kamala Harris in 2028, that will be one of the biggest disasters ever. I'm going to keep tabs on this White House live broadcast because Trump is set to speak here in 15 minutes. It's happening very soon. Now, there's a super chat I want to touch base on real quick before this drops off. It says, I'll take this is from Gaming Murph. Thank you. Thank you very much. He says, I'll take a gay Republican over a straight male Democrat any day of the week, lol. You know, I'm just kind of like, no. Here's option A, here's option B. No and no. No, thank you. That's kind of where I'm at. You know, sometimes we get in our head, we put together these hypotheticals. You're choosing between two things. I'm just like, how about neither? How about neither of those things? Not really. No, thank you. Now, I'll tell you something though. You guys know my mother is a member of the far left. You know that. My mom is a member of the far left. And so we have some very loving but spirited political conversations sometimes, my mother and I. My mom and all of her friends also. Look at this guy. He's spamming the chat. Man, you must be really mad. Okay. Anyway, my mom and all of her friends, all of her adult friends, are also members of the far left. And I'll tell you what, here's my little personal anecdote. All of them love Pete Buttigieg. My mother absolutely loves Pete Buttigieg. All of her friends, if we go meet up with the family friends, they love Pete Buttigieg. And so, you know, take that for whatever it means. I don't know how much that means, but there are some people that do love Pete Buttigieg, and I know that because I am related to them. Because I know them in real life. Now, why do they love Pete Buttigieg? I couldn't really tell you. Couldn't tell you, to be honest. I'm not really sure. But some people, they do love Pete Buttigieg. It is true. Now, there was also, real quick. Oh, no, we're good. Okay, I'm on top of everything here. Folks, President Trump is coming on out, and he's going to be speaking. He's going to be having a United Nations bilateral meeting. Man, we have some people spamming the chat. What's going on here? President Trump is going to be having a bilateral meeting at the United Nations here pretty soon. Oh, good Lord. Oh, wow, folks. We actually have two breaking news updates that I want to share with you guys. Both of them are, frankly, incredibly concerning. The first one here, we have a report coming in. Pregnant liberal women are now taking Tylenol just to protest President Trump. Pregnant liberal women are now taking Tylenol as a form of protesting President Trump. Okay, first off, that's not good. That's very bad. What does this say? Trump, don't drink piss, liberals. And okay, all right. So moving on, we have another news report that I saw coming through the pipeline right now. YouTube has now officially admitted that it censored Americans under pressure from the Biden administration and says it will reinstate terminated accounts banned for political speech. Wow, what a bombshell admission. And good, I mean, it's good that these people are being brought back onto the website. Good, great. The company terminated channels for repeatedly violating its community guidelines on election integrity content through 2023 and COVID content through 2024. Today, YouTube's community guidelines allow for a wider range of content regarding COVID-19 and election integrity. Reflecting the company's commitment to free expression, YouTube will provide an opportunity for all creators to rejoin the platform if the company terminated their channels for repeated violations of COVID-19 and election integrity policies. So who would this be? A couple names come to mind. This would be Sneeko, maybe Nick Fuentes, Stefan Molyneux. I'm just thinking people on the right, on the kind of the loosely on the right side of things that are currently suspended on YouTube that might be allowed back on. Alex Jones, maybe. Because I don't think Alex Jones has a YouTube channel either anymore. Yeah, Alex Jones. That's probably the biggest name that we could list. Wow. YouTube values conservative voices on its platform and recognizes that these creators have extensive reach and play an important role in civic discourse. The company recognizes these creators are among those helping today's online consumption, landing must-watch interviews, giving viewers a chance to hear directly from politicians, celebrities, business leaders, and more. Now, I do have to say, okay, good for YouTube. That's great. The Biden administration pressured them to censor conservative voices. We know that this happened with Facebook also. We know, you guys know, Mark Zuckerberg came out a couple months ago and he said, we were getting silenced. Now, this makes me wonder if Twitch is going to end up doing the same thing here, if Twitch is going to stop being so draconian with their anti-free speech policies. I would guess probably not. I do want to say, though, a website that for the last 5 years has been total free speech, 100%, no censorship. You got to give credit where credit is due. What website am I going to say right now, folks? What's the name of that website? Rumble. Rumble has been, for the last 4 or 5 years, has been the stalwart protector of free speech in the online ecosystem here. YouTube was censoring, now we know. Facebook was censoring, now we know. Twitter, before Elon Musk purchased it, was censoring, now we know. All of these websites were censoring. Rumble wasn't. Rumble has been here for a long time. Rumble has been here standing strong for free speech. You got to give credit where it's due. Big shout out. Okay, and by the way, hey, we are live on Rumble right now, Matt Morris TV, as well as YouTube Matt Morris TV. I want to say something here, folks. President Trump is going to be speaking at this bilateral meeting in about 9 minutes. So we are on standby for that one, folks. Everybody stand by. He's coming out soon enough. That is breaking news. That is big news. First off, that YouTube is going back. They are reneging on these suspensions and these bans, but also they're admitting it. They're admitting to it. I think that is a big deal. They are admitting to it. So now we know websites that the Biden administration personally pressured to censor and shut down conservative voices. We know Twitter did it. We know Facebook did it. We know now that YouTube did it. Are there any other big-time websites that we know the Biden admin personally pressured? Any other big websites? Because it's a big deal. That is a big problem. That is a big-time problem. And you know what is so ironic here is that, of course, the far left, they will accuse the conservatives of censoring free speech, Yeah, give me a break. Give me a break. I want to show you a little bit of a highlight here. This was from President Trump's speech. Oh yeah, that's right. They totally shut down Parler. They just removed Parler from the App Store. I remember that. This is Trump here a couple minutes ago. Take a look at this.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. I ended...
A bad escalator and a bad teleprompter here, folks. President Trump will be making yet another appearance here pretty soon. He'll be giving a bilateral speech, a meeting with some member nation of the United Nations here. We're not sure exactly which one or who. And I'll tell you what, I woke up today at about 5 in the morning to get out of bed and get ready and cover today's news because they were started so early. And I'm on the West Coast, so I got to get up early to cover stuff like this. I'm getting hungry. I did not have breakfast. Here's what I'll tell you guys. If this is what I'm going to say, if the official White House page or the Associate Press here does not give us an indication that this thing is actually happening here pretty soon? Because we are about 5 minutes out from when this meeting is scheduled. If we don't get some type of indication that this is going to be happening soonish, then I will probably wrap up the broadcast, because you might remember back, this was about a week and a half ago. There was one evening where we were waiting for President Trump to give some speech in the Oval Office, and it got delayed, and it got delayed, and it got delayed. For 3.5 hours, it got delayed, and then it never ended up happening. So I'm not going to call this one yet. I'm not calling this one yet. It could be the case here. Could be the case. You know, that's a good joke. Okay, President Trump was going up that escalator, and it stopped halfway up. They said, "Listen, President Trump, we heard you wanted to stop the escalation." Ha ha. Ha ha. That's a pretty good dad joke. Hey, good one, Dad. "We heard you wanted to stop the escalation, President Trump. Maybe you even wanted to de-escalate. So we stopped it." Ah ha ha ha. Good one, Dad. You know, we have a new Truth Social post from Trump, but first I will take a look at this. RSBN, do we have something here? President Trump participates. That's what I'm looking at.
Into grave dangers, and they were soldiers and farmers and workers.
Oh, this is going now.
Explorers and patriots. They built towns into cities, tribes into kingdoms, ideas into industries, and small islands into mighty empires. You're a part of all of that. They were champions for their people who never gave up and who never, ever gave in. Their values defined our national identities. Their visions forged our magnificent destiny. Everybody in this room is a part of it.
No, this is not live. I'm checking around. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is not live. It is not. We got. Man, I just got. That is not live. Okay, false alarm, ladies and gentlemen. False alarm. Apologies. That was actually earlier today. Is what that was. So still, we are on standby. President Trump will be coming out here any minute, according to schedule. According to the schedule. Normally, before this happens, the official White House page will go live, but that has not happened yet. Now, the schedule I keep referring to here, I'm taking a look right here. This is what we're waiting for, 1 p.m. Eastern. The president participates in a bilateral meeting out-of-town travel pool. Now, we had earlier today, the president delivers remarks to the United Nations. Yeah, we saw that. We had the first bilateral meeting, and now we're waiting for the second one. And then this should be the final event of the day. But you know what? Sometimes the schedules here get a little bit crazy. Sometimes they get a little bit crazy. So we don't know. Right now, we are about 2 minutes out. Almost 600,000 subscribers. Is that right? You know, normally I don't look, I don't check. Is that true? We almost have 600,000? I got to check on that. Hold up. I got to take a look at that myself. All right. Hey, listen, that's a good reminder, folks. If you are new to the show, everybody make sure to subscribe. Yeah, we are pretty close. In fact, we are 60 subscribers away from 598,000, 60 away. Whoa. I will say, folks, we've only been at this covering the news every single day for about 10 months. Yeah, it was December. It was December that I really started doing this. You know, honestly, I think it's probably more like January. It's more like January that I really started covering news here every single day on YouTube. So really probably more like 9 months. 9 months, 600,000 subscribers. That's something else. And you know what? We have one hell of a community. One hell of a community. Can't argue with that. Oh, goodness gracious. Kamala Harris is on The View. She's going on the whole book tour. She's trying to make some money. After all that money she spent on the campaign trail and she lost all of it, now she's on The View.
Philadelphia rally the night before, and I was sitting behind your husband, Doug, and Maya and your family. And I remember hugging them and them telling me, we got this. I felt so good going into Election Day, and then I read in the book that you did too. I went into Election Day thinking you were going to win. Yeah. So did you.
Yeah, I did.
So, I mean, it was a very tight race, but ultimately, if you have to pin it...
It was not a tight race. Just to kind of set the record straight here, it was actually, factually, it was not a very tight race.
Down to one thing, what was the primary reason, do you think, that you lost?
There are many factors, I think, that played into the outcome of that election. But I think probably one of the biggest in my mind is we just didn't have enough time.
You didn't have
We didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough time.
Oh, yeah.
Time.
Well, you didn't.
And, you know, I mean, one of the reasons I wrote the book is this is unprecedented. Think about this.
Yeah.
That there's a race for president of the United States. The current sitting president is running for re-election. 3.5 months from the election, he decides not to run. The sitting vice president...
Correction, Joe Biden did not decide not to run. He did not make that decision. He was pushed out. He was forced out. In fact, in large part by you backstabbing Kamala Harris. Listen, I find myself in a curious position because I guess as far as this conversation goes, I'm like defending Joe Biden here. Joe Biden was backstabbed. Joe Biden was thrown under the bus. You know, and by the way, I'm not a Biden supporter. Of course not. But this is fact of the matter. There was a coup. There was a coup within the Democrat Party. He was backstabbed by Kamala Harris and the entire Democrat establishment. That's just a fact. Joe Biden did not decide to step down. No, he did not. He was pushed out.
President then takes the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days until the election. And by the way, another piece of what is unprecedented and a bit historical about that race, it is the closest presidential race in the 21st century in terms of the outcome.
What?
Wow. Yeah. You know, say that again, because he likes to say over and over again he's got a mandate.
And that's part of why I wrote this book.
It was the closest presidential race in the 21st. Okay, so we've got 25 years to work with here. Do we need to fact check this? Wasn't, just as off the top of my head, wasn't the 2000 election between Bush and Gore, Al Gore, that was really close, like insanely close, right? Probably the closest ever, maybe. But anyway, this point is obviously just moronic, incredibly moronic. Now, President Trump, are you going to come on out here today or not? I'm going to take a look back at the official White House page. Not yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. That was a bald-faced lie, a bald-faced and a bold-faced lie. She's just a liar. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to do this. Listen, here's my thing. We've been live now about 4 hours. We have no confirmation that this second bilateral meeting is actually even going to take place. We've been on standby here. Right now, it looks like we are not only are we behind schedule, but we have no indication that this is actually even going to happen. It could have been canceled for all I know. That has happened in the past, to be honest. So here is probably the best thing I can do. I should probably wrap up the broadcast and get to work on making a video. I should probably make a video for you guys so you've got something else to watch a little bit later on today, but that means I got to get to work. Okay, so folks, I want to say thank you all very much. At a minimum, I am very happy that we were here together watching President Trump's 45-minute long United Nations address. That was good. That was a good speech. Give me a 1 in the chat if you were here for that. That was one hell of a speech. He got up there and he absolutely cooked and he torched. He really laid down the law. And so I'm very happy we went live and we covered that together. I appreciate it, folks. Thank you all. I'm going to go offline now and I'm going to get to work on putting together a video for you guys. Now, if you guys are here, make sure to like and subscribe. We're live on Rumble and YouTube, Matt Morris TV, everywhere. One final request. Make sure to follow on Twitter. There's a link to my Twitter page, or the X page, rather. Thank you, folks. I'm going to go have some breakfast, and I'm going to get to work. So everybody have a great afternoon. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, we're here 7 days a week. There are no breaks on the Matt Morris train, I suppose. So anyway, thank you, folks, and everybody have a great rest of your day.